you don't exist. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowed like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheap again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the 7th part of What If Naruto Enters Helluvaboss. Special note, this fanfic is written in the masterpiece of BonesBoy15 on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Night had fallen over Pentagram City. The members of IMP had retired to renovated rooms of the Happy Hotel for the evening, as a form of gratitude from Princess Morningstar for helping her get her first client and fixing the wall that was broken by a projectile chair earlier. The fact that they were being hunted by a couple of overlords was likely unrelated to their stationary situation. Luna's ear twitched at the sound of her door handles click, and she was pulled from slumber when the door creaked open. It couldn't be Blitzo. She ensured he wouldn't interfere. A certain spider-like sinner was open to keeping him occupied for a stack of cash Luna kept in the same pocket dimension as the grimoire. It was getting easier for her to access it as the days went by or intrude on her new safe space that she and her boyfriend shared. The arsel she had was but a not-so-distant memory. The exhaustion that came after it had kept her groggy. Now, she was becoming more alert. As a floorboard groaned under padded steps, she scented the air. The old, muskier faint scent her boyfriend left on the bed melded with hers in a pleasant way, and would be distracting if not for the surge of violets and almost coconuts that came with the intruder. Her tail thumped against the bed as it neared, and she rolled to her back when a weight pressed down by her leg. 3 more weights depressed the mattress call in a manner that would make her feel trapped. A cool nose pushed into her neck. Warm air parted her coat and tickled her skin. Luna embraced the owner in her arms and nipped at his cheek, all while her tail swoosh swoosh swooshed under the covers. "Hey, what I say about biting my face?" Naruto grumbled to her as he kissed, licked, scented and nipped the space between her neck, throat and her collar. She growled at him, a bit of play, and dug her claws into his shoulders. The whimper gave her pause and her eyes snapped open. Tangy, citrus, BLD. Faint, but there. He was hurt? Luna pushed Naruto up, ignored his growl, and rose with him before she sought out his injury. She scented his head and face. Nope, thank F. Still intact. Then went down his left side. Nothing, still lean muscle. At the right she found it. He growled another warning. She growled back he was hurt. She wanted to make sure she didn't do it and that it wasn't life-threatening, and he tapered off. Content that she could investigate in peace. Luna scented. BLD, faint, old, angelic. Hold on. What? You fought an angel? She snapped at him. Sexy, powerful, tall form or not, her boyfriend was a F idiot. He almost went and got himself killed before they could F. Who gave him the right? She attacked me. Oh, and it was a chick, was it? Yep, F. Fertile female scent lingered around the wound. Even F better. Yeah, angels and demons tend to do that to each other. Why the F did you fight an angel? Luna snarled. She attacked me. Luna? What? Would you rather I lie back and take it? He growled at her. She scowled at him and looked back at the reddened wrapping on his shoulder. Her claws had tugged on it and probably ripped it open again. F. His claw came up and cupped her chin, guiding her eyes to his. Hey, it's fine. I'm fine. He said after fighting a F angel. Technically, it was 1 fallen angel and 2 exorcists. He said that so effin' nonchalantly, as if it wasn't a big deal, as if it was just a spar, which maybe to him it was what with all that power he had F, and now Luna was F horny again. And you came back here? Got yelled at a bit first. Naruto rolled his eyes. Try to kill an old friend and everyone wants to F know about it. No, I am not telling you about the who or why tonight. You say that like you have an F option. Luna scowled. He closed his eyes and growled again before it cut short. No, I say that like you have an F option. Huh, that's a weird way to parse that statement. What to do, okay? Sudden boop is random but welcomed. Boyfriend no. Wait, was he trying to get out of this explanation? After he chided her on abusing the boop? This F hypocrisy rumble is good. Luna liked the rumble. I made you a promise earlier. Oh, this F cheat. He can't growl like that while she's horny. His muzzle pushed by hers and he started to nip at her neck again. She leaned back against the head of the bed and he followed. His hands ran up over her thighs, nudging the edge of her borrowed shirt. Her claws shifted, mindful of the wound, and tugged into his mane of hair. He pulled away and initiated another boop. No, a embrace, even better, that he broke far too soon. And I can either fulfill that promise now, or we can spend the whole night talking about the winged prudes on the top floor. Well, the decision was obvious. Luna grabbed his face and pushed her snout against his. Boop, his attention was hers, and hers alone. Good. I swear if you edge me again, I will rip your PP off and use it as a toy. Yeah, I figured that'd be what you said. He growled back at her before he pushed his lips against hers. His claws pushed delightfully against the skin of her thighs and her claws tugged his mane in, as if it would make the embrace better. Oh, is he knocking at her teeth this time? Challenge accepted. Her mouth parted nary a centimeter when his tongue shot in like a battering ram, and the duel was lost. SHT, so much for her winning streak. Still, a decent reward was being able to feel his tongue out with hers. Thick, flat, warm and long, it caressed her thinner organ and explored the inner cavern that was her mouth. A push against one of her molars sent a small chill up her spine, which, okay, good to know. Then, as suddenly as it entered, it was gone. As was his muzzle found it, kissing down her jawline, then neck, and the F was he doing with her call? Oh, OF. OSHT. OFID. FSHTF. Luna's eyes were wide as her boyfriend pulled his head back. A prized spiked collar hung from his surprisingly dexterous tongue by the buckle-like latch. It dropped to her lap, but was tossed aside by his claws. Let's not ruin another one tonight, he rumbled. Sweet F. Luna nodded and let her head roll back as he returned to scenting, nipping, kissing down her throat. Her right hand lashed out and patted around for bingo. Phone acquired. Through a cracked eye, she maneuvered the settings of her camera. Flash off, night vision, flip oh, there's a sweet spot and nip the ear in front of her. Perfect. 2 more seconds, just gotta tag it right, yes. That'll show those why did he stop kissing her neck. Clearly, I'm not showing you enough attention. That, Your Honor, was when his loaned shirt was ripped off of her body. The second his teeth grazed over her studded piercings, Luna dropped her phone and it clattered to the floor. Now, normally that might put her in a rage, but there was a talented demon tongue teasing her tits and his claws gently grazed over the spots on her sides. Needless to say, she had other things on her mind than her phone right now. Swoosh, 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 swoosh. A phone buzzed on the table, bleary pink eyes cracked open before it was grabbed. What happened last? Oh, still night? No, the date was different, one day. Okay, so what did she do last? Right, another night drinking, woeful over her lackluster love life, and spent with her crew Ace and Josh double-teamed her pretty well last night. Shame they didn't stick around to cuddle. There was a post. Oh, hey B's brother was tagged in. VERYYYY's eyes widened and narrowed. Moonlight _howling _666 is with Orangefetschremen in Happy Hotel, Pride Ring. 1 picture posted. It's fine. There's other PP out there. She grumbled. She wasn't going to torture herself with jealousy. She inspired jealousy. She was Martha effing VERYYYY Mayday. She was totally opening the app to look at the post. F. Night vision filter. I shine, with an ear in her mouth. SHT. Her ex's adopted brat was kind of hot. Wait, was the VD, wasn't it? The back of his head? Was he necking her? Oh, it's a F brag post. She frowned. It had been a hot second since VERYYYY made one of those. They were meant to show off and impress those who saw it. She squinted at the pic and growled. Damn it, it's working. Midnight _howling _666 posted. Picture. Gonna be busy tonight, don't wait up. Already a million likes? What the who the F is this hellhound? How many? That's a lot of followers. DMN near VERYYYY's own count. Was it because B was her sponsor? And comments were rolling in. Queen Biatch F, yeah, get it girl. B, UF trader. Lordy Offless tame, but better than that last pic you posted. Ozzy. Was Ozzy in this girl's followers? What the SHT? MangaMuse Archiled 666-0 SHT. Did we soundproof that room? Try to be courteous to the rest of the inhabitants. So happy for you too. Emoji failed to load. Too many characters. That was F Princess Morningstar's account F what? How did? But VERYYYY blinked several times and looked at the half-finished bottle of Blitzo juice that sat on her nightstand. It was snagged in an instant, and she chugged for a hot second. SHT was strong. She glared at her phone. Think I'm not gonna rub one out thinking about your cute boyfriend because of some PG-13 pic online? F that? Tomorrow, SHT gets real. She swiped through her Voxtagram friends and opened the boyfriend in question's page. There were photos on the app she saved just for this occasion, and a quick alignment put them in a repeat slideshow. Another swig of Blitzo juice emptied the bottle, and she started to use it as an impromptu DLD to fillet on while she flicked her bean. This little beach didn't know what kind of game they were playing, but VERYYYY was a MSTR of it. She won this round, that's all. Oh, F yes, right there, F, Naruto, that feels F. Luna whined and tightened her legs over his shoulders, putting slight pressure on the one that had been impaled by an angelic spear. Naruto growled in slight discomfort, but pressed on as he curled his tongue inside the moist cavern in effort to properly excavate it while his claws carefully kneaded into her inner thighs. One occasionally drifted up to tease the albia, and he swallowed down all the sweet vibes the act did. He'd never actually done this before, but he knew enough demons that had to give him appropriate tips. Of all who he'd asked, ironically it was Serb that had the best advice. Just ask her during dipshit. It's her PP that you're eating out, she'll know it best. Then the blindsided him with a roundhouse kick that sent him through solid bedrock. But that was a concussion story for another time. So, Naruto basically did that. Over the past 20 minutes, he'd stopped to check in when anything he did didn't seem to be doing anything for her or whenever her breathing hitched with an impulsive decision, even if that was milliseconds after the last stop. In response, the whimpers and whines she made only assured him that he was doing it right. His tail flicked from one side to the next, slowly and controlled. Her claws dug into his mane, and she attempted to push his muzzle deeper into her folds. Yes, Naruto. SHT, yes. F yeah, almost there, babe. Right there, no F. There? Do that again. F, I'm so close, so F close. The word trailed off into a sharp whine, and he pulled back to give some attention to the pretty dark folds outside the drenched cavern. His nose pushed against the cute little button of nerves at the top of the lips and Luna F lost it. Naruto, her head flung back with her howl that not only sent his BLD racing to his groin. Hot F, that was the hottest F thing, and it was because of something he did. She howled his name, mission F accomplished, boys. His tail was now in full wriggle, but also left him with ringing ears. Her claws dug into his scalp and possibly drew BLD. Her legs became vices around his shoulders, which was way more problematic for one over the other. Her tail smacked between his side and the bed once before it went startlingly still. She trembled as her howl petered out into whimpers. He lapped up the juices that leaked from her, gulped down each slowly. A final mouthful was saved until he caught her glazed-over eyes. He swallowed and licked his chops. Delicious. He growled at her in the way that always seemed to make her sweet scent spike. Her panting increased with a few whines, and her claws tugged at him urgently. They weren't stuck, and her legs were essentially noodles, lean, muscular, curvy noodles that she liked to have kneaded, nipped and kissed so he could easily obey the silent request. He did so, pausing just momentarily at her pelvis, navel, and melons to give them gentle nips or kisses wherever appropriate. He made it back up to her and gently kissed her cheek as she wrapped her arms around his neck. Unholy SHT, babe F, Naruto, that was so, I need a boop. She panted. Naruto chuckled and pressed his nose to hers. She hummed as her breathing steadied, and he slipped his nose away to embrace and sniff at the fur of her chest while one of his claws idly toyed with her piercing. A nip to his ear had him look up again. Let's do more. More? He huffed around a smirk. Loon, you gotta give me a minute to rest my jaw. All right, that whap on the snout was well deserved. More, dumbass, she growled. He made a show of sighing in resignation and prepared to go down again, but she tugged at his neck. Oh. I'm going. No, I meant goddammit, I have to spell it out for you, don't I? Well, ouch. That hurts on an intellectual level. Crimson eyes glared at him as she cupped his face. Naruto, I want you to knot me. Well, if he wasn't strong before, he is now. Oh wait, he was strong before. So, what the F was this? A super beaner? It's kind of uncomfortable. Are you just gonna stare at me, or? Oh, SHT, sorry, no, yes, sure, F. He groaned at how stupid he sounded and let his head drop to her shoulder. She giggled and kissed his snout. You're such a F-doof. That's not even a word. He grumbled as he started to reciprocate the kisses. Use your gram more often. Make me. Tomorrow, are you gonna F my legs or my cunt? Luna growled into his ear before she nipped it. Which, fair. He was kind of just lazily humping her leg, what? He liked the kissing banter. Don't judge. So effin' bossy. He growled back and pulled away to sit on his knees. She whined and he gave her a flat stare. You want me to F your cunt or not, Loon? Because if I do this blind, I might miss. Surprise Annal was the last prank anyone ever pulled on a hellhound. F tempt me with a good time. Naruto's eyebrows shot up and he gaped at his girlfriend, until she growled at him and ground her wet folds against his pee-pee. You can stare at me F whenever, just stick it in already. Well, with that permission on the table, who was he to hold up the party? He took hold of himself and pressed the tip to her folds. Both of them groaned as he slid the head in. He waited a beat and then met her eyes. Ready? F yes. Shit. Luna whined as that familiar, full feeling her toys gave her was enhanced by the real thing, which was just a bit larger than them. Her boyfriend's pee-pee, her pee-pee was hot and pulsed within her oh so pleasantly. The tip pressed into some kind of resistance, but she felt his hips go flush against hers. F. Tight, he whined with her. Her claws dug into his back and one of her legs wrapped around his hip. The other was still pretty much useless and limp from his amateur. If he never ate someone out before then, Luna was never letting him go. This was the luckiest draw for her, and she was not going to mess it up. CNLNGS. One of his hands reached up to play with her melons, and one of hers raked down his back. Her wine petered out and she licked at his jaw. She could taste the semi-dried residual of her last orgasm on his fur. Her scent mingled with his, and it was so F hot. F. Luna, I need to, Naruto whimpered, and she nipped at his cheek. Her boyfriend might be stupid, but he was very sweet. Letting her set the pace. Not many hellhounds or demons in general would do that. Not me. She growled into his ear. His hips slowly retracted and they hissed together. He moved back in and they moaned. A steady pace started. With it was an increasing amount of kisses, nips, licks, growls and growls that were exchanged. F. She loved his growls. It was when the headboard started to slam into the wall that as Luna nipped and kissed his jaw, she started thrusting back into him. He dipped his head down to toy with her piercings and she moaned. One of her hands slipped from his back and began to toy with her own hair. Her eyes drifted shut and her head lulled into the pillow. Yes, F, she mumbled as her hips rocked into his. Her eyes opened when the toying of her melons ceased, and her half-lidded gaze locked on his barely perceptible blues as he came back for embrace. Their teeth clacked midway through and their thrusts stopped. Both of them cupped their muzzles with groans and then sniggered at one another. She held his head steady as he kissed her again, then nuzzled against each other as they started anew. The fast pace resumed soon enough, and any kisses were kept chaste unless one steadied the other. Usually her, given their vanilla position. Her other leg got feeling back, and she wounded around his hips, feet interlocked, which he took appropriately as a signal to increase the intensity. She yelped and moaned while he continued to growl. Eventually, the headboard slamming became louder than their pelvic collisions. F, 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 she whined and whimpered as he pulled his body flush against hers. Something was spreading her labia, wider and slightly more painfully. It was thick and only getting thicker and SHT, that's right. Her boyfriend had a knot. She told him to knot her, and didn't really think about what that entailed. F, SHT, W wait, babe, W wait. Can't. He growled back. His eyes were screwed shut. His body started to tense. Gotta get in before. Please, F, it's too SHT, Luna barked as her own eyes screwed shut at the sound of a wet schluck. She whimpered as the massive intrusion swelled and spread her insides as they rapidly filled with something boiling hot. Her eyes watered and she thrashed beneath him. F, that's too big. Loon, I'm sore F, he groaned back to her and took her up in his arms, which made biting onto him just a bit harder, so she let go. He rolled to his back, and she laid atop him, whimpering like she was some kind of beach. His claws stroked through her hair and ears, as gentle kisses were pressed into her face. I'm sorry. F, I'm sorry. It's F. It looked so much easier in pawn. Luna whimpered. Her boyfriend stared at her for a minute before he chuckled, which she would be mad at if she could argue it not sounding ridiculous, and kissed down her cheek to her lips. She kissed him back and let the comfort of that take her mind off of the discomfort in her cont and the weird sloshing feeling going on inside her. Even after that embrace broke, he kept kissing her cheek and jaw. She leaned into his affection and licked at his ear when it flicked by her face. I just F, Naruto. We need more lube or weed or something. Weed? Naruto chuckled again. She growled at him and he stroked her side, just above her spot. Sorry, did you watch Pawn to prepare for this? You didn't? No, he laughed and kissed her cheek. But that you did is F adorable. Unholy F, Loon. You really want to poke the F bear while she's tied to you? Luna growled. To say she was not pleased he found some enjoyment in her pain was putting it mildly. His smile dimmed and he rubbed his muzzle against hers. No sorry. He rumbled and the pleasant vibration surged through her. It alleviated the pain in her stretched lips. Another embrace helped her hackles fall and another again helped her relax atop him. His claws ran down her spine to a point and she moaned into his mouth. She felt his lips turn up and almost whined when he pulled away. His other hand cupped her face and his appealing eyes stared into hers. I really am sorry. I know. It's HT, I told you to not me. I shouldn't get mad at you for listening. Luna grumbled. She was really into the kisses and now that she was more relaxed, she liked this NTMT closeness. It was like she had a warm body pillow on hand. She'd never understood the allure before, but after this... Yeah, no, she'd pick her boyfriend over a F pillow any day. Maybe next time we don't? I will F own your PP, Naruto. Luna growled. Now it wasn't just a fun K&K, it was a challenge. She nipped his nose and then pushed hers into his. You'll be begging to not me. What does that even mean? It means that we're going for another round after this. Is that really a good idea? Naruto. Luna scowled. Why are you so against having sex with me? There's no right answer to that question, so I refuse to answer it. Naruto deadpanned. Luna narrowed her eyes. He growled. If I tell you about my fight earlier, will you let that one go? You have until we get ready for round 2. She growled and snuggled into his chest. If she was going to get a story out of this, she was going to be comfortable. Go. Again, I can't thank you enough, hon. A stout imp said as she was followed by a taller, serpentine imp, who carried some purchases of hers to her car while she carried a massive pack of feed. Behind her, shouts and shots were exchanged by various ruffian imps. "'Twa'n't nothin', ma'am. Just the right thin tea do." The taller, serpentine imp grunted as he adjusted one of the 10 bags in his hands. "Strong enough in this ring as it is." "Oh, aren't you just a doll?" she tittered. They got to the station wagon that looked like it was on its last legs and loaded it up with ease. Once she managed to tie the trunk door down, she looked up at the taller imp with a smile. "You know, our family farm is looking for another set of hands for the upcoming festival. Would you like to come and meet my husband? He handles the hires." "Why, ma'am, I'd be delighted. Just gotta get my things." "What ranch was it, again?" "Rough and Tumbleweed. It's just a lil ways past the Hack and Razorback up the road, on the right." "I'll make my way out there this afternoon, ma'am." "Wonderful. Thanks again, Mr. O." "My," she giggled. "I'm sorry, I don't think I got your name." "Not a problem, ma'am." Golden eyes gleamed and a sharp-toothed smile went wide as he tipped his hat. "You can call me Striker." The first thing he saw when he woke up was a bright light. "That's too bright," Adam groaned. He tried to lift his arm to block the light that burned past his eyelids and immediately sucked in a sharp breath. "Oh F, what the foo, where the F am I?" you are home. Oh, SHT. He knew that voice. Hey. Adam squinted through a smile that tugged at the skin on his face in the wrong way. Oh, wait, SHT, yep. That stupid straight blonde hair, a jaw he wanted to shatter on a knuckle or two, and a TWK body that always confused his glorious beaner. Gabe, you look glorious. And you officially look like you're full of SHT. Gabriel the Archangel deadpanned. He was wearing a neat white shirt and pants as most angels or heavenly inhabitants did that was tight as F on his butt and made it bubbly sweet like Eve's. The Archangel's arms were crossed as he sat back in his seat. Father told us what happened. Oh. Adam's already weak smile waned. He was going to get dressed down, wasn't he? Your first mistake? Yep. Adam let his head flop back with a groan. He was getting chewed out. If Gabriel was here first, that meant Raphael and Michael were still to come. Great. Oh, but you must pay attention so that you may learn from your failures and not suffer them again, dumbass. Gabriel deadpanned before he cupped his chin. Where was I? Ah yes, your strategy in attacking Rackwell. How many times do we need to emphasize that quantity does not beget quality? Ugh, he was going to be here forever. Wearing another borrowed shirt that fell to her mid-thigh, this one was a deep navy blue with SHHHHH no one cares printed on it. Her boyfriend had either band shirts or joke prints, and honestly, she was here for it. Luna muttered obscenities about a certain phallic growth attached to a certain stupid boyfriend under her breath as she limped down the stairs to the main lobby, a firm grip on the railing. She'd use him as a crutch considering her state was mostly his fault at her instruction. But that was semantics and detrimental to her directed ire, but the effer was already out of bed with a text explaining he was roused before dawn to check another toilet on the 3rd floor. The hellish sun over pride had crested by the time she woke and read his text, and then posted an morning pic to her gram. Last night's brag capped at 2 million likes and a good half that in the comments. The most she'd gotten on a post before was barely into the thousands. She had a total of 4 climaxes between rounds and explored several other positions during the second before anyone asks. Yes, she did enjoy doggy style on a base level. Any one of you perverted shitheads that thought less of her for it. SHT, she was pretty sure Naruto liked it just as much as she did, if not more so. Wait, was he an butt acquaintance or a chest companion? He gave both ends the same amount of attention, very appreciated amounts of attention. She can worry about that later. First, she needed a smoke, or coffee, or both, but all if it didn't leave her a little sore taking his not twice. One would think that after loosening up the first time it'd be less painful. That hypothetical thinker needed a good punch to the face, a kick to the crotch, and then to be electrocuted by a jumper cable hooked up to the imp van. It was not any less painful, but she got accustomed to it sooner. Well, somebody looks like they had a good time. A snaggle-toothed sinner smirked at her from where he nursed a she-sniffed fresh cup of coffee. Black. Ugh, this sinner really was a psychopath. Angeldust chuckled and raised his mug to her. Thanks for the funds and the fun last night, Wolfie. I will rip your face off. She growled as she limped toward the kitchen and stumbled into a chair. Ugh, damn it, her balance was totally shot. Sit. A red hand led her around to sit in the same chair she stumbled into. Okay, weird of Fatty to be so nice. She smelled fresh vanilla latte. Why? Oh, thanks, Millie. Luna blinked as an extra large cup of her usual hothead's latte was offered to her. The little imp grinned at her. Anytime, hon. She skipped off to the kitchen around the corner while Fatty sat down on the couch across from Luna. The hellhound didn't like how at ease the nervous wreck of an imp was, and the sinner seemed to be way more amused than he needed to be, given his profession. Oh, Millie's back with a bag of breakfast treats, and she put it right in front of her. All right. Suspicions are raised. All right, what the F is happening right now? Did you F-ers spit in my latte? She growled. Co-workers or not, she would eviscerate anyone that F with her morning coffee. Even her dumbass cute boyfriend would suffer if he ever thought about it, a point she made clear at their last coffee date. No, who would ever do such a vile thing? Fatty asked incredulously, as he drank from his cup with his long butt order on it. Oh, sweet temptation, but no, that was Naruto's prank on the same coffee date. He made it clear in turn that if she messed with his pranks her coffee would not be safe from retribution. Furthermore, if she messed with whatever the F his ramen was, it might be a deal breaker, and she didn't like Fatty enough to tell him. "We just want you to be comfortable," Millie grinned. "G-head and eat. There's a whole mess worth in the kitchen." Too nice. Too suspicious. Luna didn't like it. Her eyes narrowed and her growl increased. "Why?" An answer came from the sinner lounging to the side. "These two schmucks and Princess Smiley Pants thinks you're knocked up. Apparently, yous and your fuzzy-wuzzy boy toy made a lot of noise last night." Angeldust, which, so bizarre that she was in the same room as Blitzo's favorite Pawn Star. Personally, Luna preferred Don Howlitzer's work. There was usually a lot more she could work with than just a drag-addicted TWK that took it like a beach set around a chuckle. And Days got the bright idea that you might not want the little blighter. "So, Mix and I talked about it, and we'll take it." Millie bounced in her seat as she clung to a less enthused, but still smiling Fatty. "Boy or girl, don't matter to us none. That way Y can still be part o' their life if you want." Wow, there was so much. That was a lot of things that were certainly said just now. She took a sip of her latte and pulled her phone out. She sent a text off to her boyfriend. "Need boop." A faint clang from the wall caught her ear. A pipe? He probably read the text, got excited she totally understood. Their boops were F awesome and dropped something. She sent off another after she thought about her request. No clones. Coworkers are F idiots. She took another gulp of her latte, then investigated the bag. Yep, as expected, mostly bagels. Black, more than a few cinnamon. Oh, sesame, sweet, and there was cream cheese, too. Her phone dinged while she was mid-bite and she checked the response. 2 secs. Sure enough, the golden Elzebub house seal formed at the base of the stairs before Naruto popped up out of it. Luna snorted at his drenched coat while he wrung out his tail. "You could have dried off first." "I did." He deadpanned. A poof of smoke and he was rubbing a towel over his tail, which looked even more biteable now with it being floofed out like it was, than his head and neck. Once he deemed himself dry enough, he walked over and knelt beside her. A slightly damp claw massaged her neck downside to nodding from behind. She had to turn her head to get boops or full-on kisses. What's that mean? A sore butt neck. It was balanced out by the upside of the act, giving her her biggest orgasm to date as she turned to meet his nose in a boop. Soggy Naruto scent might be her least favorite variant thus far. If only because the envy water dampened his violet and almost coconut scent and the faint hint of her vanilla scent. "Jesus F, what is that?" Angeldust muttered. "It's their weird Eskimo embrace thing." Fatty poorly explained softly. Luna's ear twitched as a shutter went off. Oh, he thought he could abuse her 15 minutes of infamy. Huh. They've got a lot of pictures on Boxtagram of them doing that. It'd be cringe if it wasn't cute. Ugh, I can't believe I agree with yous. It's so F cute I think I got an ulcer. Can I even get ulcers? The both of you could keel over and I wouldn't give a flying SHT. Luna muttered as she cupped Naruto's muzzle and gave her boyfriend an embrace. When it broke, she patted his cheek and turned back to her bagel. "Thanks, babe. You can get back to work now." "Not gonna tell me why you wanted one?" he asked, brows furrowed. She smirked and her tail flirted. "I did." Her co-workers were idiots. That wasn't reason enough? Uh-huh. Naruto arched his brow and sniffed at her before he hummed. "Fine then, keep your secrets." Cute BSTRD stole another embrace before he popped into a cloud that revealed himself. No, wait, sniff. Sniff the scent was diluted and had a barely perceptible artificial tang to it, like colored syrup. A clone. "Oh sure, just swap with me, boss. I wasn't holding up anything important." The clone rubbed his face before he leaned down on the arm of her chair and grinned at Luna. His not-real wriggler whipped about wildly behind him. "Hey, Loon, what say you and me get out of this dump and go tear up this city?" "Not interested." Luna deadpanned with a strong whack on the snout, which dispelled him. She took another bite of her bagel when her phone went off again. "Don't hurt me, B, 'cause my clones are idiots. Stop hitting on me so poorly." "Can't. You are too appealing." Brain stops working. "Cheeky sappy butt," she mumbled, failing to fight back a smile as her ears burned and the tip of her tail wagged. She sent back a few choice emojis and finished eating the bagel in her hand before she went to work on her latte. Huh, why was it so quiet? Oh, right. She had an audience. Her tail curled around her feet and her ears folded back as she focused on her phone. She chanced a glance up and, that's almost everyone in the F hotel. F. She shifted in her seat and her tail curled tighter around her. The F are you assholes staring at? Millie was biting her lip and leaning on a smiling Moxie's shoulder. Angeldust had a smirk on his face. Princess Morningstar was leaning on the couch behind the imps with a wide grin and her hands propping her head up, and were those little hearts coming out of her head? Was that intentional or accidental magic? Wait, where did she even come from? That was a rhetorical question, jackasses. They're probably staring at you. Ah, yes, Morningstar's oh so pleasant, one-eyed and stab-happy girlfriend. She smelled familiar to something. Not that her individual scent wasn't notable, it's just this scent also nearly matched something Luna had smelled recently. Ugh, SHT, now that was going to bother her. Why? Because, is it true? Are you PRGNT? Whatever Vaggie was going to say was cut off as Morningstar F vaulted over the couch and landed in front of Luna, before she leaned into her space. Okay, hot or not, this was not okay. Luna knows she can't react, but she needs to react, because this is Luna's space. But that was Princess Morningstar, and if she attacked the Princess of Hell she was dead. But the princess got in her space, and she has to protect her space. She can't attack the princess, she needs to defend her space. What the F is everyone shouting about down here? Christ, I can hear you F-ers on the second floor. Luna never thought she'd actually consider these words, but thank F for Blitzo's timing. He grumbled and dusted off his. Is he wearing a pillowcase? What the F no, you know what? Luna had more important things to worry about. Thankfully, Blitzo seemed to recognize her predicament because he froze. Oh, SHT. P princess? I need you to get the F out of Looney's face before she bites you. You're in her bubble. Thankfully, Princess Morningstar seemed to catch that and took a wide step back. She continued to smile and chew on her lip and unholy F. Luna could not leave her alone with her boyfriend because she is F certain they would mesh too well. A flash of memory of a horny thought she had concerning their true forms, and yeah, that confirmed it. They were both too positive and powerful and attractive to be left alone together. So distracted was Luna by her previous bout of lust, that she was almost startled to the point that she spilled her remaining latte when Blitzo jumped at her. Yeah, besides, her adoptive father pushed his cheek against hers and hugged her shoulders. Looney Tooney only lets me get that close. Get off, Luna growled, adding a none too gentle shove to emphasize how not okay his hug was. The second the imp was off, she started to comb down her fur and check the scent. Ugh, great. She smelled like him and his dried sex sweat. Gross. Not just you anymore, little daddy. Angeldust snorted before he drank more of his black tar. The F is that supposed to mean? Blitzo scowled. You didn't hear it, sir? Fatty asked. Hear what? And has anyone seen my phones? SHT, did I drop them when Valentino was after us, or was it the cannibals? Huh, how odd. That's a story Luna wants to hear. Chances are she won't ever get to, though. Your phones got busted yesterday. Vaggie deadpanned, giving Luna a pointed look. The hellhound smirked back and looked back down at her phone. I thought it was weird he didn't react to Luna's brag pic. Millie hummed, pulling her phone out. Wait, he didn't see that? SHT. Luna groaned as Blitzo darted over to her co-worker's phone. Her adoptive imp father stared at the most recent pictures on her feed and his eye twitched. Ima, kill him. I will move out and quit, Luna snarled. He was not killing her boyfriend. The amped-up butt that was her father lowered his drawn pistols weren't those in his jacket. Where was he keeping them? On second thought, she didn't want to know and rounded on her with a whine. Gah, come on, Looney, it'll be quick. He won't even know what hit him. The F am I kidding? I want it to hurt. I deserve this. He forced himself on. Oh, she was not letting him suggest that in front of the goody-goody two-shoes that was Princess Morningstar. She wanted to keep what access she had to her boyfriend available to her. Thank you very much. It was bad enough he was being sent somewhere at the end of the week by F. Lucifer himself. For a F month. If anything, I forced him inside of me. She growled. Ha! That's a great face, Blitzo. Jaw agape and eyes narrowed, angry and shocked at once. What do you call that? Shangri? Aingrocked? Meh, it was funny. Luna lifted her phone and snapped a picture. That was totally his new contact image. Way better than the stupid smile he had from her adoption portrait. Ooh, I hear a juicy sex story on the horizon. The porn star grinned and leaned toward her with his head propped by a hand. So, first and foremost, dimensions. What are we working with here? A grower? A shower? Micro D? Dare she discuss her boyfriend's wonderful PP with this near stranger in front of her co-workers, adoptive father, and the princess of hell herself? Yes, she dares. About yay big. Luna held her hands apart. What? He was a pawn star. If anyone knew good PP, it was a pawn star. Then cup them appropriately together, mindful of her latte and phone. Bit wider than that. Ridged, too. Bit smaller than I'm used to, but ridges are fun. Angeldust grinned. Can't be what made you howl, unless he went in dry. Well, first he ate me out. Her tail wagged a bit at the memory, and she adjusted her legs so the base wouldn't tug and so she wouldn't show anything off. What? She couldn't find her shorts this morning. Leggings either, for that matter. Luna, what the F? Blitzo nearly shrieked as Angeldust grinned. Ah, I gotcha. Fuzzy Wuzzy munched on your taco real good, did he? Oh, F you. Luna flipped both the imp and the sinner off. He might be right, but she wasn't going to give this butt the satisfaction of knowing he was right. Wow, he's packing all that. Sounds like a good time, right, hon? Millie elbowed her husband around a grin. Don't talk to me right now, Millie. Please. Fatty whined into his hands as his face started to glow. Effer better not be getting any ideas. Not that he had a chance of getting some of her PP. I officially know too much about Narastat Zoro's PP. Both Morningstar and her girlfriend deadpanned. Looney, why? Why are you torturing me this way? Blitzo whimpered. 1. If you could hear your drunken sec rant that you have every other weekend since you adopted me, you'd do the same? Luna set her phone down so that she could flick a claw up. Then a second went up beside it. 2. I get the luck to field all of our benefactors' calls. She lowered her hand to pick her phone back up from her lap. And 3. Because I can. Anything else you want to scar 'em with? Angeldust asked as he swiped a cinnamon bagel. She let it happen. That SHT was disgusting. She glanced from her phone to the pleading look on Blitzo's face. Then she looked at the pawn star. Then back at her phone. She brushed some hair out of her eyes and her ear flicked. Well, I took his knot twice. Luna, the princess, Vaggy and Blitzo shrieked. He's got one? Angeldust grinned and ran a hand down his side. Naughty times are sometimes the best times. Not fond of the sticking part, though. Oh, what? Does it hurt too much, Beach? Luna sneered at the pawn star. He laughed as she finished her latte off. Yes, that SHT spreads me too effin' wide. That's why I renegotiated that SHT out of my contract. Well, F you, PP. I like the challenge. Her thighs rubbed together as she closed her eyes and thought about the night before. She needed a repeat tonight. Maybe sooner than that. Yeah, I know. Ya screamed so effin' loud ya shattered my effin' window. Only one, Luna frowned. Now she kind of wanted to shatter more. Can we please stop talking about the Duke of Gluttony's PP? Fatty whined as he rested his face on Millie's shoulder. Angel smirked and waggled his brows Luna's way. She arched an eyebrow. Watch this, he mouthed, before he turned to the married couple and propped his head up. Aw, what's the matter, ya lil beach? PP too hard? Luna snorted. Angeldust was a riot. Millie didn't agree, but then she was always super defensive of her easy-to-maintain husband. No, I'm with, him, Princess Morningstar asked though. Right, she never got introduced to them. Matt, that was not Luna's problem. As she looked at the two imps, Millie took pity on her and nodded. The princess sighed. Yeah, let's, stop talking about Naru's PP. PP. Call what it is. A PP, Angel jeered. It's FPP, and I defy you to say otherwise. Luna scowled at the sinner. Ooh, classy words. What did I just say? Princess Morningstar groaned. Angel, please, please, you're supposed to be rehabilitating. Let's focus on the positive things. Luna is PRGNNT. What? Blitzo shrieked before his eyes rolled up and he fell over. Well, that'll be fun for future Luna to deal with later. She had a bigger issue to deal with right now. The FIM, she snarled and shot to her feet. She bared her teeth at the alarmed quartet. Well, Vaggy looked more irate than alarmed. Which, fair, Luna was threatening her girlfriend. She got it. And slammed her hands down onto the coffee table to properly snarl at them. I don't know which of you moronic F-tards got it in your head that I was in heat, but I wasn't. I am not PRGNNT. I just wanted to F my boyfriend, and when I got to last night, he rocked my F world. So, the howling is normal? Millie asked. Are they F serious? They just assumed, because her CLMX was a little loud. That? Oh, F this. Yes. You wanna F no more? Luna growled. The three chuckle F that had banded behind this idea nodded. Her eyes narrowed. Then go read a F book about it. That's what I had to F do when that dumbass, she pointed at the still unconscious Blitzo, adopted me. Wait, so how does that work exactly? Angeldust asked with a frown. Are yous like his pet or? Read a F book. Luna grabbed her phone and stormed off to the stairwell as best she could with the small limp she still had. Where you going? I'm gonna go find my boyfriend and F his brains out since her butt father, Luna snarled as she pointed at Princess Morningstar, is sending him to F Wrath at the end of the week and I won't be able to see him for F knows how long. Why is Dad O? And the circle got the square. At least the princess had the right idea to look a bit apologetic about it. He's working right now. Vaggy's interjection had a good point to it, but the argument was weak. You only need one of his abilities. Now you can either tell me what room you sent him to or I can find him myself. Luna narrowed her eyes. And if I have to find him, you'll have more than F plumbing to worry about. Are you threat? 317. Charlie, what the F? Thank you, princess. Luna huffed and limped stormed up the stairs. She had some coffee, a bagel, and could bust a smoke out. But now she was really F horny. She winced once she was out of sight of the first floor and leaned against the wall. She looked down at her phone. Wanna F? I'm working. That a no? No. Meet in the room? Gimme 5 mins. Perfect. Now, it should be stated that Naruto wasn't going to complain about being ambushed with an embrace the second he opened the hotel room door. He just wished he had known Luna wasn't wearing anything under his shirt. Getting a sweet smell splashed onto his stomach as he lifted her up to carry her into the room wouldn't have made him stumble away from the door in surprise. Then he wouldn't have tripped into the bed, and they wouldn't have cracked teeth together. Again. SHT, sorry Loon, you okay? He asked, cupping his mouth and checking his tongue for any BLD. Nope. There has to be a less painful way to do that. Luna whimpered. Both of them rubbed their muzzles before they smiled at one another. She pushed him onto his back and straddled him, to which, F yes. Naruto was all about letting her top. She looked amazing from this angle, okay? She looked amazing from any angle to him. But he was biased before she brought her nose down for a boop. Euphoria-inducing nose touches should not be a thing in hell, but here we are. Make a clone, she muttered. An NNND, the euphoria was gone. Ah what? Naruto looked into Luna's eyes. Got him. He loved her eyes. So red and pretty. Thanks, but yours are definitely prettier. I said that out loud, his ears folded back. She smirked and pecked his lips, and what was he thinking about? She said something and he blinked at her. Wasat? Overthrow the king of hell and dump his responsibilities on Charlie, so we can stay here forever? Yes, can do. We can't F if you're dead. Ah, right. There was that whole most powerful being in hell thing that the short king wannabe technically had going on. See, this is why she's the brains of the operation. Luna gently combed back some of his ruffled fur on his muzzle. Look, just do it, okay? One clone. One clone, coming up. The BSTRD popped into existence lying down beside him, lounging, as if he was going to S-duck his girlfriend. The sudden urge to deck him in the schnoz was strong. You rang for a real fox fiend. So strong was that urge to deck himself in the schnoz. Everyone should be proud of his restraint, especially Luna effin' clones, flirting with his girlfriend. I have one. Luna snarked. She crawled off of Naruto. Do not whine, she'll be back. She wouldn't have called you here for a clone, right? And went over to ensure the door was shut. She then pointed at the clone and moved the claw in front of her. Stand here. You got it. The lucky clone stuck his tongue out at Naruto. It's weird that he's a little jealous of himself, right? Yeah, Naruto thought so, too, and hopped off the bed to stand across from Luna. What can I do for you, Lo-un? Luna grabbed the clone by the muzzle and glared into his eyes. I know you all get this, so here's what's happening. The rest of this week, the original is mine. The rest of you effers will do the jobs for the princess that she needs done. Is that understood? What? But that's not fair. What's he got that I don't got? The clone whined. A scent that's not slightly artificial. Good luck making the rest of them fall in line, Beach. Don't challenge her. Naruto groaned and looked away. This was going to cold magic punch right to the exposed gut. He cradled his stomach as the phantom pain got to him. Luna, come on. Make another. She growled as she shook her fist out. Do I? Naruto. Fine, so wrong that you're hot when you're being scary. He grumbled and made a clone that immediately hid on the other side of the bed. The clone poked his eyes up over the edge. I'm not getting closer to you until I get assurance that you will not dispel me like that, you know. I will not dispel you like that. On my word. Luna put a hand over her chest. She smiled, and it was not one of her cute ones. Now come here. TCH, man, we should be able to SWCH or something. The clone grumbled to him. Naruto shrugged and scratched away the phantom cold pain in his gut. He watched his girlfriend glare at his clone and decided to look up at the ceiling. As I said, you will do all of the jobs Princess Morningstar assigns to you, and you will do them right. Or else what? Or else I'll keep having the original make clones and going through them in various painful ways. Luna inspected her claws. Or maybe I'll just help him tie you up and F him in front of you, then dispel you, so you can get the memory of Sek, but never experience it. You sassy beach. The clone pursed his lips and crossed his arms. Yeah, that'd work. Naruto nodded his agreement. Now that he's had Sek with his super hot, sexy goth hellhound girlfriend, eat it nerds, that does sound like literal hell. And he lived there, so he would know. Good. Now dispel. Can't I get a Kai? No. Boss, you're a lucky BSTRD. The clone cursed him out and dispelled. Naruto got his memories and smirked as Luna came back to climb onto his lap again. Yes, I am. He agreed as his claws landed on Luna's waist. Their lips came together again before they started to scent, embrace and nip at each other's jaws. So, what brought this on? I've only got access to you for the rest of the week. Luna mumbled around the bit of his jowls she took into her mouth. A bit concerning. He should not be as aroused as he was by her suckling on his face. But that damned beaner don't lie. She released the skin from her mouth and maneuvered him around to get a perfect boop aligned. Her next words sent a very fright-rousing tingle up his spine. And I'm using every second of it. Getting a cover was too easy in this ring. The only downside was the family that he had to deal with. The owners were pushovers, and their kids were jokes, especially the TRNY. Ugh, he just didn't understand how that imp walked around the way she did, or why she was so insistent on being so touchy. Just remember, Sug, if you need anything, and I mean anything. The little molested his arm and his eye barely refrained from twitching. I'm just down the hall. I'll keep that in mind, Miss Me. The transvestite imp smiled and sauntered away. Stryker smiled until he closed the door, and then he covered his mouth as he retched. He closed his eyes and forced down the bile that tried to come up. Once his stomach was settled, he sighed and went over to the bed, where he set his equipment down and then sat beside it. He set his hat to the side and shuddered. It's just a few weeks from now. You've done worse, Stryker. You've done a lot worse. Naruto pressed his head into Luna's as they laid together in bed, half watching a video on her phone with her. Not that he had much of an option, given how they were tied and had been for the past 10 minutes. Luna had grown to love the mandatory cuddle sessions, if not become addicted to them. She insisted over the last week each night ended with them tying together. Their last round the last night, had been a very enthusiastic Helko ride. That may be their favorite position yet, given the sight he got from it and the control she could have with it. The past week had been quite taxing on his stamina, but managed to succeed in keeping his girlfriend satisfied and happy, a feat not many could claim. There was an alarming amount of cheating in hell, which was surprising given the sheer number of polygamists that were down here. He nuzzled his brow into her cheek, closed his eyes and let his rumble flow through him as he tasted the delicious vibes that were in the air. She sighed as a pop-up message cut into the show she was watching. B wants to know how much longer. Ah, yes. They had just tied when B sent them a 5-minute warning. It was super awkward to explain why that wasn't going to work, but B just rolled with it. Oh sure, B does. He chuckled and kissed her neck up to her cheek. She hummed and leaned into his affection. Her cute tail swoosh swoosh swooshed beneath the covers. Are you sick of me already? Ouch, Loon. Feelings are hurt. You'll live. She nuzzled back into him. She lowered her phone and cupped his chin to pull him into a boop. They growled well. She growled and he rumbled, really, and smiled before the boop turned into an embrace. Luna sighed as it broke and nipped at his chin. Don't tell anyone I said this, I'm gonna miss you. The vibes soured so fast, and a soft whine left his girlfriend's mouth. Ah, Loon. He gave her another embrace and tightened his arms around her. I'll miss you, too. At least it's just a month. Naruto, we just spent an entire week SHT, Blitzo, and the Wonder Losers left 4 days ago. I was wondering why I wasn't getting memories of the evil eye following me around every corner. He furrowed his brow. His smile grew as she snorted and planted another embrace on his jaw. The rumble deepened as they shared a moment of blissful silence. Before it became awkward, he kissed her notched ear and muttered into it. You gonna be okay? Without my boyfriend? I'll manage, I guess. She huffed. It's the lack of boops that might kill me. I didn't even consider that. Naruto mumbled, staring at a fixed point in the ceiling. His eye twitched. This might actually be worse than the VOR timeout of 13. The what? I don't want to talk about it. I feel like we need to talk about it. Really, Loon, let's just drop. A wet thulk reached their ears before both of them shuddered. The sensation of the knot's deflation was always a weird one. Luna moaned as she pulled her hips away and rose off of his softened PP. She shifted to lay atop his right shoulder, while the bed quickly became drenched in his essence as whatever didn't make it to her core leaked out of her in a slow and steady dribble. Oh, darn, we're separate. Looks like we'll have to get dressed before I get sent to Wrath. Let's finish this conversation. Never. Naruto said, rolling out from under Luna to sit on the side of the bed. He stretched his arms up and yawned as the fatigue from their activities struck. His left arm slipped behind his head and grabbed the right tricep, holding it in place as he stretched until something in his upper back popped. Lithe arms wound around his waist and a shorter muzzle nosed into his shoulder as his arms fell. I could just ask B. She growled in her alluring, not angry way. He gently held onto her hands and tilted his head to rub it against hers. His tail went nuts on its wriggle and hers wagged. The bed was quiet as he brought one of her hands to his mouth and kissed it before he chuckled. Be my F guest, Loon. I just want to state again that this is a terrible idea. It's a great idea. I would know it was mine. Was it, though? There's a F alarming lack of ducks. You will all rue the day when the ducks topple your empires. B. Don't antagonize the boss just because Naru babies got you miffed. Ozzy sighed as he followed his friend and his boss into an office. 7 chairs were arranged around a rectangular table. The one at the head had a 7-pointed star carved into the seat. He and B took their respective seats across from one another while Lucifer claimed the head. Yep, still hilarious to see him just barely reaching eye level with the table. The king of hell's eye twitched. Who F with my chair? First 3 guesses don't count. Ozzy smirked B's way and she scoffed. 2 hands waved dismissively while another hand made a bag of trail mix for her to munch on. That's baby bro's area of expertise. I throw parties, not humiliate Lucy. So, I should add another month to his stay in Wrath? Lucifer asked flatly. B almost choked on the handful she'd tossed in her mouth, but recovered. Her ears went flat and she glared at their king. I didn't say he did it. But you have an idea. Well, 4 people aren't showing up, and only one is supposed to be here, because it's his F-ring. Stupid F-lizard. Lucifer growled and snapped his fingers. The seat fixed itself, and he sat at eye level with them once more. He's lucky his representative will be here. Which one? Ozzy asked flatly. As horny and RTC he was, he didn't have the body count that Satan did. Some attributed it incorrectly to their placement in the sin hierarchy, and others had the audacity to accuse Asmodeus of being in a monogamous relationship, the F-nerve of some people, when he clearly had a pet-er, a personal SXL assistant. Yes, that's how he saw his froggy physically. Meanwhile, Satan ran around overcompensating for his micro-D and closeted sexuality by boning and marrying as many demons as he could. Most of his lieutenants only became such because of his marriages to them. The thick one. Lucifer rolled his hand and played with his cane. What's your name? Fia? Maria? The one whose name sounds like mine but worse? Lucia's going to be here? B perked up. She grinned. F awesome. Free show at a boring meeting. Down, B. Ozzy manifested a water bottle and spritzed her with it. She growled at him and covered her trail next. He dismissed the construct and looked at his boss. When should we expect? The doors slammed open and a giant, thick pale red dragoness could be seen on the other side. I'd say no-ish. Ozzy gave the smirking king of hell a flat stare. The dragoness ducked her head and torso. Sweet F. Those were some massive mammaries. Like DMN, Ozzy knew SXL organs got ridiculous down here, and these were proportionally appropriate for this creature. But just DMN. Under the door frame as she walked in, she stood at the end of the table and set a folder down. Angry red eyes burned as they scanned over the 3 sins. Got him it? Satan lied to me. Told you he'd be here? B asked, her eyes roaming the NDE creature before her. Ozzy flicked a conjured little candy pee-pee at her and she ate it out of the air. Well, at least she was paying attention to her surroundings. No, he told me Mammon would. Ozzy and B exchanged looks. Lucifer arched his eyebrow. The dragoness crossed her arms over her bountiful bust. Son of a bitch owes me 400,000 in gold, but I know I'll never see it. I've been trying to negotiate alternatives, and he always assumes I want his money or his pitiful PP. Mammon has a PP? Ozzy asked. This was news to him. The dragoness snorted smoke. Why do you think he owes me money? Lucky Mothoff. B grumbled and angrily chowed on her trail mix. Yes, well, as unfortunate as it is to be snubbed by our greedy associate, Lucifer said as he interlaced his fingers in front of him. I take it that everything I've asked for is ready? There's been a few hiccups. The dragoness picked up the file she'd set down and went through it. Such as, ooh, that was a tight smile. The boss was not happy his wishes weren't being met. For starters, the Fire Hezru breed have been endangered for 400 years and are now protected by Satan's wrath for 3 centuries, so we couldn't get one, let alone a dozen. Lucia put a set of cheaters, arguably the most in terms of accessories or even clothes Ozzy has ever seen on her, and flipped through a small for her set of papers. Glabrezu are extinct, lost them at the turn of the 1st millennium post-Christ. The Abyssal Maw are in hibernation for the season, so it's not even worth trying to get one. The Armonite clans still won't talk to us after the last time we used one of their warriors to punish someone. Thanks, Asmodeus. Lucifer glared at him and Ozzy crossed his arms. Look, it's not my fault they were all talk about taking any PP size. It is your fault he died mid-F. I never denied that. SHT all they asked for in return was a sample of my seed and I supplied it. In what, a few dozen sippy cups? B asked with a smirk. Ozzy flipped her off. She blew him an embrace. F in teasing beach. And the Demogorgon is still missing in action. Lucia, who'd ignored the sins byplay as most professionals did, tossed the cheaters aside, dropped the packet on the table and crossed her arms. But the pit is ready for whatever poor soul you wanted to send there. We have several talented volunteers eager to get BLD on their hands, claws, tentacles, and any other extremities. TCH, man, no Degorg. SHT, I wanted to see one of those flower faces get splattered. Lucifer groaned. B growled at him and he scoffed. Oh, what? The brat could take one of those F'ers. He took on F. Rackwell, didn't he? Who was? According to the report, Ozzy looked at his phone's notes. Blessed be his sweet froggy FANFICTION, who was his platonic and personal SXL assistant that summarized that report for him. Approximately 20 inches long, account for a swollen base. Whoops, sorry, wrong notes. What notes were that for? Lucia asked. He glanced at her, 3 brows arched. A deeper glance and a size K&K. In the other way? Interesting. She shifted and glared at him. You don't have to answer, but stop staring at me. Don't advertise freely then. It's just for a new product that's hitting the market soon from my toys and aids department. Ozzy waved the Drake off and snapped his fingers. Oh, speaking of, I need to revisit our terms and agreements in regards to your house's likeness policy. When and how did you get a measurement of baby bro's PP? B asked lowly. Ozzy stared at her. Was she being serious? She growled and set her trail mix down so okay. Yes. She was being serious. He stalled a possible outburst with a raised hand. When he brought his girlfriend, he shuddered. Ugh, such a gross and limiting phrase that escaped his mouth. To my club. They got dosed with Feromo, didn't he tell you this? Woo, he must have had a great night. Lucifer chuckled as he leaned back in his seat, likely thinking about the times he and Lilith partook in some of Ozzy's experimental ingestibles. The little SHT doesn't tell me anything unless I scratch or vibe check him, B pouted and crossed her arms. Used to tell me everything all the time, like a little annoying but cute queef, and now he figured out how to shut up. Are you sure you didn't just miss something in one of his conversations? He might not trust you if you don't show that you listen, Lucia said, kneeling beside the table. Ozzy and Lucifer stared at her and she scowled. What? My own daughter is starting to get rebellious, so I've been reading online. What? Satan has a kid? Lucifer gasped, beating B and Ozzy to the punch. And he didn't tell me. Our girls could be besties. She's not Satan's. Lucia scoffed. She glanced at the burn around her left middle claw. F that but once, and he put a ring on it, then floundered to the next hole. At least he didn't cheap out and I could pawn it. One and done. Are we sure he's not the sin of lust? I will F you, boss. Do not tempt me. Ozzy glared at the smirking king of hell. I'd pay to watch that. B smirked, then gasped and slammed her 4 hands on the table as she leaned over towards him. Wait, Oz, you said that baby bro got hit with Feromo, right? Did you get any footage of him and Pretty Pup's first time? Not their first time. They managed to hold out past the strongest peak of the drag. Ozzy shook his head with a sigh. She slumped back in her seat and whined. Ozzy smirked. He loved jerking B around. He played with his PP a bit as he leaned back and inspected the nails on his other hand. But I got good footage of him giving that cute little hound a very NTMT throat F. How? Lucifer drummed his fingers on the table. Ozzy almost chuckled. His boss had such a K&K for domination play. The king of hell gulped. How hot are we talking? He snapped her collar. The lust that filled the air was magnificent. Send me that copy. B shot from her seat to grab his lapels as a bit of drool fell from her lips. Ozzy's brows all shot up in surprise, and both Lucia and Lucifer gave her looks. The queen bee quickly realized her position and returned to her seat. She put a handful of trail mix in her mouth, as if that would make them forget the reaction she had. What? You've all seen the Pretty Pup and my baby bro is a cute little stud. It's gonna be so hot I need to put the best parts in his B-Day collab vid. You want to watch it for the collab vid. Radiate. Lucifer smirked and tilted his head to avoid a pelting of the snacks to the face. No, sorry B. They're legally independent. I need to get them on contract before I can release that footage to anyone. Ozzy shook his head. A guesstimate of a PP for a toy was one thing, but video releases? Nope, that's something he'd get F by in the worst way. Not to mention he didn't even have a chance to tell them that he had it yet. He was still going over it. Personally, with Fizzaroli's help. For editorial notes on the toy. F bullshit. B snarled and shoved her whole bag of snacks into her mouth. She swallowed and slumped back in her seat. Who the F decided 20-somethings were legally independent? Most of the Hellborn live well into the F hundreds, and they're all idiots until at least the 1st century. As above, so below. Those are the terms we agreed to so as to keep E-Day out of your rings. Lucifer reminded her. Which, yeah, fair. Ozzy was fine with enforcing legal ages for lustful activities. The underdeveloped needed to blossom and mature before they could be enjoyed by all parties involved. B might have a harder time enforcing her sect of laws, considering, well, that she's B. Rathians welcomed the challenge. Lucia smirked as she inspected her nails. But I believe this meeting has gotten off track. Is there a soul to be deposited or not? There is. Lucifer straightened up and grinned sharply. Beelzebub, summon him. Hang on. B typed on her phone. All right, he'll be here in 15 minutes. Beelzebub. He's nodded to the pretty pup, but I'm not putting her through that trauma. B scoffed and sat back while Lucifer's form shifted to and fro. Ozzy's 6 brows went up. Without prompting, the sin of gluttony elaborated. Poor thing's already gotta be left with that inane F-er that tried to blow up baby bro. I'm not going to force her to expose herself to you shitheads, no offense, Oz, Lucia. Lucifer looked just slightly offended as he settled on his friendly appearance. B ignored him and grinned at Ozzy. So, about those measurements you have. Is it for a DLD or a VBRTR? Because I have suggestions. Red eyes opened slowly as someone stepped onto his plane, but no further. His chosen hovel, his sanctuary. At the crux of a black hole, where time was meaningless and the sciences of man couldn't comprehend. Michael. Rackwell. The archangel warrior of Ihu stood at the entrance. He was a handsome creation, Sasuke would admit, with cheeks chiseled from stone and a hawkish nose. Clad in the armored robes that resembled a church long since separated and absorbed by others. One hand rested on the hilt of his sword, sheathed at his hip, and the other remained at his side, loose, ready. Did you come to kill me for what I did to the first man? Adam's mistakes are, and have always been his own fault. This is the beauty of man. The archangel shook his head. Dark locks shifted from one side to the next. No, I wish to ask about the demon. Glass shattered and repaired around the hovel simultaneously. Memories of years, centuries, millennia ago flashed to the forefront of his mind. He scowled, not a new expression, and sat upright in his chair. His name is Naruto. My apologies. Michael put a hand at his sternum and bowed slightly. He stood again. May I come in? Sasuke considered it. He nodded. Thank you, brother. Michael stepped in and examined the area. Quaint. Spartan. VERYYYY. I recall you saying the same thing the last time you stepped into my room. Sasuke sighed and rubbed his face. If you are here to try again, then Raphael would be sad, and I cannot bear to make him such. Michael chuckled. No, I remember your answer then, and while the pain is there, it is numb. Good. Kaleidoscopes spun and shifted. What do you want? I wish to know this foe of ours. Aside from his cursed form, Naruto is not heaven's enemy. Sasuke poured the contents of a kettle into a cup. He glanced at Michael, who held a hand up, and then set the kettle aside. He sipped the warm brew and sighed. If anything, he is the epitome of what heaven's forces should be. Powerful? Monstrous? Unwavering? Unyielding? Sasuke smirked as he thought of their recent clash. Indomitable. Quite the praise for the D, a glare, and the archangel paused. The one that tried to kill you. He had good reason. He will be more understanding next time. Sasuke huffed. He was under no delusion of how the first reunion was to go. There was always to be a heated fight the first time. It's just how their dynamic worked. Will he? He will. This is the one, isn't it? The one you spoke of then? Michael smiled, his eyes shone. He tightened his grip on the hilt of his sword. Your fallen rival. He is. Sasuke nodded. I await my chance to face him in combat. Sasuke sipped from his cup, drained it, and then set the cup down on the table beside him. He will be dead before you can. There were a lot of things that were expected when he arrived in the Ring of Wrath. The Sins all gathered and eager to see the result of his latest F-up. It had been a while since the last one, 4 years, new record, and he was certain they'd show in droves if possible. Furious guards were eager to rip him to shreds. Imps that ran amok unsupervised and killed each other with reckless abandon. Even Satan himself, with another F-off set of weights set up for a rematch of his lift challenge, which he would accept on the F-spot. He wanted another lazy day workout shirt. Damn it, Luna kept taking his favorite ones, was expected to greet him. Naruto did not expect a large dragoness who was butt naked to be the thing that greeted him to the ring. Yeah, I guess he's a little cute, the dragon said as she squinted down at him. She shrugged and then grabbed him by F. No, not cool, not okay. You fat F, let me go, beach. He twisted and snarled as he was hoisted off of the ground by his scruff. Careful, he's, oh, of course the douchefur was watching him suffer. Sadistic moth F. Naruto just needed a good angle and aha, victory was his. Chomp, oh, this floor was rough. Gah, you little SHT, choke on a radioactive PP, ya scruff pulling nudist. I was going to say, he's a biter. Douchefur finished lamely. Yeah, word of advice, don't grab the scruff. Oh, hey, Oz was here, too? Huh, weird, they're 4 sins short. Naruto already knew B was here because 1, she brought him here and 2. Baby bro. She glomped on to him after his rough landing. The happy vibes she had would be nice if he could enjoy them. Unfortunately. Herc, choking, air, B. Naruto tugged at the arms that were wrapped around his neck and ribs. Nope, she was in one of her homicidal hug moods again. Weird, she normally saved that for a mid-party high, or if one of them reached some sort of milestone. F. She knew he had sec. You and Pretty Pup's gram is going off, or that. Sure, yeah, focus on social media, not his sec life, or the life you're taking air, glorious air. Naruto greedily sucked in what he could before his face was cupped by 2 hands and is B giving him a boop. That's weird, right? Yeah, he thought so, too. What are you doing? He asked, twitching. It was bad enough he had to go a month without a boop. But now his last memory of one was going to be tainted by B's impulsiveness. TCH, guess it really is your thing. Still effin' cute, though, B said with a grin. She scratched his spot PP move, B and cooed at him. Don't worry about the pretty pup. I'll be stealing her this month for as many parties as I can muster. 2 parties. Naruto deadpanned. Luna was not a social animal without a proper filter to help her navigate those murky waters. He blamed that on the orphanage, and to a lesser extent, Blitzo, but mostly the orphanage. B's smile tightened, and she dug her claws into his spot. Oh, all the parties. She'll have so much fun. Okay, no. He was not letting his sister traumatize his girlfriend because she thought she knew best. 2. Naruto growled as he grabbed the arms attached to the hands that were assaulting him. He pulled them off and then let B take them back. She scowled at him as he got to his feet and crossed his arms. Vortex can't make clones to clean up your house. SHT, I forgot about that. B blinked as she hovered back to the air. She looked at the short king wannabe and raised her right hands. Lucy, I have new complaints about this month-long punishment. Then you should have stopped him before Sarah found out about his existence. The king of hell snapped and then smiled at her. B grumbled under her breath, but lowered to land beside him. He rested on his cane and grinned at Naruto, foul vibes just filling the room. So, kiddo, ready to know your punishment for being so reckless around Char? You just said, your punishment for the aforementioned failure, Beelzebub, is to have no access to your free, on-site cleanup crew. Joke's on you, I haven't actually been home in is it 3 months now? Naruto asked, looking at his sister. B counted on one set of hands while the other scratched her chin and rested on her hip. That's why Tex complained about the smell. Sis. Naruto deadpanned. She blinked at him and he groaned into his hand. I swear, it's like you do this on purpose. What? Party in my house as weekly as possible to make sure half-dressed cuties clean it where I can record and watch? No, that's not like me at all. B scoffed and investigated her nails. Naruto squinted at her. She arched a brow. What? Do you think I do that on purpose? I didn't think it was, but now I'm starting to suspect it might have been, you know. He opened his mouth to say more when a large red-scaled claw wrapped around his neck and hoisted him into the air. Both of his hands went to the one around his throat. It wasn't blocking the airway, but, around the throat. Okay, this is preferable to both B's homicide hug. Hey, I don't try to kill you every time I hug you. And the scruff grab. Learned something KNKY about Naru baby today. You see this finger, Oz? You see it? Because I mean it. This is why no one takes the 7 deadly sins seriously. The naked dragoness deadpanned. Lord Lucifer, can you put the limiter on so we can get on with our day? I'm pretty sure my finger is infected with Hellbees. Hey, I've had my shots. Not all of the ones we mean. Lucifer chuckled as he walked along the top of the table and poked Naruto's stomach with his cane. Oh, F. He knew that feeling of ice coursing through his body. He just had his magic blocked. Now, the rules are simple. There's 3 in total. Rule number 1. You cannot go into your true demonic form. Oh, that bodes so poorly. Rule number 2. No magic or whatever else it is that you use. Bodes less poorly, and now he's intrigued. And rule number 3, Lucifer grinned and poked him in the chest. Don't die. He knows exactly where he's going. F. He was getting excited. Don't wriggle. Swoosh, swish, do not wriggle. Swoosh, swish, do not wriggle. Swoosh, swish, swoosh, swish. Lucia, open a portal to the pit. The king of hell ordered. A portal opened beneath him and F. Yes, he was being sent to the pit of wrath. Naruto's body is ready for this. Tail, now you may wriggle. Swoosh, swish, swoosh, swish, swoosh, swish. Much to B's disapproval, Lucide demanded that they watch the first few minutes of his punishment. Baby Bro was dropped into a free-for-all amongst the pit's participants and pretty much disappeared into the fray of flesh and BLD. And then, 15 minutes after that, he took center stage and started to rip through all of his opposition. 40 minutes after he arrived, the second block of participants replaced the first that he'd already decimated. B tried to warn Lucai, but he just kept having the haughty Lucia send wave after wave of souls in. They were on wave 69 nice and down to the last 3 participants. Come on, tons of fun, let's boogie. Baby Bro jeered as he threw himself at a giant wrathborn known as a rager, not at all what she thought the name meant, by the way, and started beating the 15-foot-tall beast into the dirt. With the arm of another wrathborn. B wasn't an expert, but she's pretty sure that the arm belonged to the brother of the one that was being beaten. It's only been 3 hours, right? Lucai asked. Yep. B drawled boredly as she tossed some caramel chicken legs into her mouth. At least Baby Bro was having fun. F. Ozzy gagged as one of the other 2 surviving hounds B seriously needed to send memos out to the few merc squads and outland packs that listened to her and remind them that initiations via the pit were forbidden. She's pretty sure those 2 blooded boys were trying to join the hunters was kicked off of Baby Bro into a spinning fan. B reached over and held Ozzy's hair as he dumped his face into a bucket. Okay, just F how? Lucai asked as the other hellhound got its lower jaw punched off. B winced. She doubted that was planned. Baby Bro looked surprised and apologetic before the glory glutton came back. Baby Bro spent a day training with Serb, Herb, and Russ 2 weeks ago. Your brother trains with Cerberus, the original Cerberus? Lucia asked. Her eyes hadn't left the screen since it was turned on. No, the one from Envy, yes, duh. B rolled her eyes. Jerks keep trying to sneak him out of my house. 30% sure it's Serb's idea to get back at me for my 1F up. You F a Balrog on their bed, Ozzy reminded her. Yeah, and it wasn't even worth it. PP only managed 2 rounds. B scoffed bitterly. Wasn't worth losing the trio of talented tongues. UF Cerberus, what's that like? Lucia asked. Depends on which head I focused on. Oh, come on, you're 5 times his size? F, someone F-gut this brat already, Lucy snapped with a scowl. B growled at him, but he ignored her. He pointed at the sexy naked dragon in the room. SHT, B wanted her to sit on her. She was so thick. Send in the next wave, and one of the special breeds. All right, we have a flesh render. Send it, F send it, Lucy grinned. Lucia shrugged and the king of hell cackled. Until the render took out half of the opposing force while Baby Bro mopped up the rest and then snapped the render's arm off to then use as his own weapon. I just how B. Yeah, Lusai? You raised him. You, I presume, didn't train him to do that. Lusai gestured at the screen, where baby bro was now wielding the arm he'd snapped off the flesh render as a F sword against. Huh, samurai imp, that's new. The F is wrong with this kid. Nothing's wrong with baby bro, B scowled. The F nerve. He's just glory gluttonous. Do you mean battle hungry? Lucia asked. I would say BLD lusting. Ozzy smirked. That F-er, he knows how B feels about people trying to take her SHT. Glory gluttonous, B snarled at the two. Their vibes were way too amused for her liking. She crossed two arms and munched on another leg. He likes winning. It lets him brag and quote prove his awesomeness to non-believers. He meant, boss, maybe you should have adopted him. Then Lil Char baby would have had a brother. Oh Zozy, shut the F up. B and Lusai growled at the sin of lust. We may need to send him down a few levels. Lucia hummed. She wrote down something on a notepad meant for someone of her size where it came from. B hadn't a F clue. Maybe she stored it in her cooch cloaca, kucha and put the pen to her lips. Sweet, supple lips. B was going to need some time with Vortex later. Maybe we can send him to Elysium. And now B didn't need to go see Vortex. She looked at Lusai, who leaned forward and rested his chin on his cane. He closed his eyes. B met Ozzy's gaze while Lusai was thinking. The sin of lust shrugged useless rooster. Thanks for the help, D-head. And she slumped in her seat. Elysium was the most dangerous level of the pit, named after a long-abandoned glorious afterlife because it was ironically the opposite of that. Elysium would either prove you were one of the baddest of the bad mothafs in hell, or you were all talk. Honestly, without any of that F-Wad's SHT, his disaster magic, or his true form accessible to him, B didn't have high hopes of seeing him after the month ended. Do it. Yes, Lord Lucifer. B reluctantly held her tongue and morosely swallowed another chicken leg. Nope, that was the bucket. Now, she wanted some time with Vortex just to cuddle, maybe a quickie. Mostly cuddle, though. 2 weeks. He'd played the role of ranch hand for 2 whole F weeks. It was getting on his F nerves. He almost snapped at the father today when the bristly mustached jackass tried to correct him on how to brush a horse. That brat that ran around was going to have an accident if he tried to grab his tail again. Calm the F down. He's dealt with worse. There were still 2 more weeks before the Harvest Moon Festival. He could manage another 2 weeks. But someone might be dead before then, Stryker thought with a snarl as he slammed a bale of hay down in the barn. A shrill ringing had him flinch before something grabbed his arm and dragged him out of the barn. That's the dinner bell. We best hurry 'fore we miss out on the first bites. Stryker growled at the child that was pulling him, but resisted the urge to react violently. He'd have time to get this little accident in the making in line. He walked at a more leisurely pace once he wrenched his arm free and waited for the horde of hungry hellborn imps to get their first plates and gather in the living room. Whatever, he'll grab his grub and eat on the porch. Quieter out there. Oh, Mr. Stryker. Oh, F his life. Stryker gave a half glare over his shoulder to the transvestite, Susie March or something. He plastered his best employee smile on his face and turned to her. Miss. Come on and join us. The annual Elysium fights are starting. Pa saved you a seat on the couch. Elysium fights? Heh, when's the last time he sat down and watched those? Well, there's no harm in distracting himself from all the disgusting sheep that were around him. Well, how could I refuse such a generous offer? Ya can't, SHT. This beach just could not read a F room, let alone a person's interest or lack thereof, to save her life. It might be necessary one day. Stryker pushed that thought out of his mind and followed the transvestite into the sitting room and claimed the seat beside his boss, Joe. The massive imp was scarfing his food down, eyes glued to the large box set television that the boys were clamoring in front of. What's the level? Stryker asked and put some of the plate into his mouth. Hot DMN, these idiots might not know anything about the F world, but they sure F know how to make good food. HN 115. Already. I thought they saved the top 300s for highlights. Stryker frowned as he watched the corridor fight on the screen. A bat-winged, half-bred hellborn, likely a sec fiend of some kind. Those were the most common sort of havas. Was SWNGNG a pyrite WHP at an orange hellhound that had burns on his chest and shoulders. Strange, Striker could swear he'd seen that hound somewhere before. DMN, the hound has ball. Caught the blazing tip of the WHP in his hand and didn't even flinch. Yeah, ground that flyby cunt. Ya son of a bit. Oh. You watch your effin' mouth during dinner, Gregory, the matriarch said after she stabbed her son in the arm. Lynn wiped the knife on her shirt. Good DSPLN, Striker noted with a careful eye. She was skilled with knives and then used it to meticulously cut into the patty on her plate. She smiled around a bite. You know, I'd thought all gluttons were just party freaks, but this un's a different breed. Pretty sure he's got some wrath in him, Joe grumbled. He pointed his knife at the screen as the glutton-born hellhound tore the wing off of the hava with a round-the-world swing. That? Gluttons don't do that. Striker quietly agreed. This hound was something else, but DMN he looked familiar. He stuffed some pork into his mouth and narrowed his eyes. Where has he seen? And Sophiani's torturous tyranny over the lower levels of Elysium is toppled. The announcer was that Tom Trench? Huh, studio must be going all out this time, exclaimed as a camera zoomed in on the brutal hangman's knot the hellhound trapped his opponent in, and he's just leaving the body there to move on. DMN, that's cold. The gates lowered and the hound walked through the next corridor, rolling his burnt shoulder. Smart dog, keep it loose before it heals and it won't stiffen in the next fight. The Duke of Gluttony advances to the next stage. Striker almost bit through his fork. A duke? A duke was in the pit? That was so tempting. So tempting. Too tempting. Striker smirked and pulled his phone out. He fired a message off to his client. Maybe with a bounty on his head, the royal would think twice before coming down to mingle with lowly commoners. Who's Bird Beach? The little accident to be asked, startling the assassin into jostling his phone. Foo, it ain't polite to snoop over people's shoulders, kid. Striker sneered. Yancey, buzz off. Make me, Sally me. Challenge accepted, SHT Fur Brains. Maybe. A white-feathered royal slid her phone to her brother. Thoughts on this? Well, it could be profitable if we play it right. A wager for his advancement while he has an open bounty? The other Gosha dabbed his beak with a napkin. If he dies, then it's no real loss on our end. We aren't obligated to pay bounties to pit performers. If he lives, then we walk off with a pretty penny. A penny we could use against. That cheating, imp f son of a batch, the white Gosha bird cackled. Her brother rolled his eyes. I was going to say your husband, but that works too, I suppose. He glanced at a ponytailed imp carrying a package past. 3 o'clock. Servant with a DLVRY bypassing. You there, imp servant. The matron called to the diminutive creature. He stopped, ran back to her, and raised the package above his head to bow. Impressive. She pushed the praise from her mind and sneered. Where the F are you going with that? For Princess Octavia, princess. He offered the box. An order she's been expecting. Another taxidermy kit? She frowned as she read the sender address. She had to get that girl off of that uncouth fascination soon. Very well. As you were. Thank you, Princess Stella. Good day to you. Lord Marquis. The imp bowed to her and her brother. They watched him run off with his massive package. Taxidermy, still? I'm pretty sure it's from her father's side. All the more reason to get him away from her. It had been 13 days, and she was going to lose her mind. 13 days since she last smelled violet and coconut. 13 days since she last experienced the euphoria of a boop. 13 days since she heard some cheesy butt line that made her ears burn and tail wag. 7:15 to go. Luna sighed. As was the case whenever she was at work while the others were on a job, she sat at her desk, drank a vanilla latte and scrolled through her feed on Voxtagram. The sins needed to reclaim this stupid app already. She was sick of watching the dumb hypnotic adverts that didn't even affect her for the posts of the few influencers she deemed worthwhile. Among those was Beelzebub, who had taken over her boyfriend's account and phone for the duration of his punishment, a fact she didn't find out until day 5, when she had a really shitty day and Blitzo had been more obnoxious than usual, and she just wanted to have a smoke while she talked to her idiot about it. At least B was willing to lend an ear. even if Luna was pretty sure she didn't pay attention and was using said time to post some interesting photos Naruto had secreted away. Seeing a smaller version of him, she couldn't believe that it was possible for him to look so adorable and wanted to see more. Using a blanket as a cape with what looked like a polka-dotted BR over his ears was not something she expected to see today, nor could she ever unsee it. She wouldn't mind any more posts like that. Neither did the 4 million that saved it, or the 18 million of the solid billion that followed me. A familiar pulse came from the grimoire and Luna groaned. She set her latte down and grabbed the book. Without looking from her phone, she flipped it open to the bookmark transportation spell and put one claw on it. Magic channeled through her into the book and she huffed a single word. Open. A blue-white portal swirled open and the three stupids slid in on the headless body of a Sniff, Yelk, Mountain Dew, Cheetos and years of underwashed skin, followed by a mountain of snow. Why did you bring the body of an incel back to the office? Luna groaned as she cut the spell. She tried to mask the smell with her latte. It didn't work all that well. Ugh, this was going to be another day she wanted a boop, wasn't it? Satan damn it. Client request. Blitzo grinned as he hopped off the body and the chuckle FS dragged it outside. They want to torture their tormentor by burying his soul in a box with his body. Something about appeasing the dark ones or some SHT. I guess you're not that imaginative when you self-delete via bullet to the brain. Go figure. What's next on our to-do list, Looney? Luna rolled her eyes and switched apps to her notes. There's a request to off an African warlord ... in Jamaica. Ooh, island getaway. Sounds fun. Oh, and the bird guy called. Luna grabbed a notebook that she absently tossed to him. She heard a thud and smirked. Left you that message, word for word. Oh goddammit, Stolas. You want to see me as soon as possible. Ugh, so much for the beach day. Blitzo scowled as he read through it. He grew more horrified. Luna, did you listen to him say all of this? And now you know why I bragged about Naruto SPP. Luna drawled as she went back to Voxtagram. The second she did, a ping went off followed by a text bubble that popped up. Step away from the windows, pretty pup. WH. An explosion shook the building. Luna arched a brow as Millie and Fatty ran in, shrieking about damage to the client's body or something. They shut up when a golden seal appeared in the middle of the floor. She felt her tail wag and started to smile, and then it turned out to be Beelzebub. Her tail stopped wagging, wrapped around her legs and her ears went flat. Her eyes darted to the hacking Blitzo that was quite literally within Beelzebub's reach. SHT. F. SHT. F. SHT. F. Pretty pup. The demonic prince of gluttony threw her arms up as she grinned. I've come to take you out. A gunshot deafened the two-canned Hellborn for all of 2 seconds. There was a hole in the floor between them. Both whirled at the source with a snarl. Listen here, Bomb Beach. Oh, please no. He didn't. He didn't. He did. Blitzo pulled the hammer down on his flintlock and aimed it at B. I don't know who the F you think you are, but if you're coming after my Looney Tooney, you'll have to go through me first. Well, F. Now Luna had to start looking for new places to live and work. Why? Oh, because Blitzo was dead. There was nothing she could do. He was so dead. He just shot a F bullet at Beelzebub. What was with his obsession with shooting at the house of Beelzebub? I genuinely cannot tell if he's being serious or not. B looked at her and Luna wanted to die. This was worse than the first meeting with Naruto. The sin of gluttony crossed her lower arms and pointed at Blitzo with the upper pair. Is he serious? Hey, beach tits, why not just ask, chomp, me where did my guns go? Blitzo asked, looking at his now empty hands. May, C-tier materials. Cheap make. Definitely greed in origin. B muttered as she used a toothpick to clean her teeth. Luna whimpered and yelped as B engulfed her in a hug. This was ... interesting tight. It's tight. That's a tight hug. Ooh, it's almost worse than Parasite Blitzo. Mostly because B's scent was more honey and sugar. And now her face was against Luna's. Being the bisexual disaster she was, she froze up as her boyfriend's hot sister pressed against her. Oh, don't cry, pretty pup. Baby bro won't forgive me if you cry. Who the F Mills, Mox, the F are you doing? Get some weapons. Sir. That's Queen Beelzebub. Fatty found ball, good on him. If only could have done so 5 minutes ago. What? No, isn't she like a fly or something? Blitzo frowned. He pulled his phone out and tapped on the screen a few times before he blanched. OF me in a prolapse, I just shot at a sin. Machem, that you did, imp boy? With cheap SHT, 2 to F second. B's eyes blazed bright red and she stepped away from Luna. I know you. You're that Blitzo imp. Ah well, the O is silent now. You tried to blow up my baby bro. Oh, F. Blitzo started to back away as B took a step towards him. She started to grow and her pan palette turned a vibrant crimson. Eventually she was 3 times her original size, hunched over and glaring at Blitzo with red eyes that looked like Naruto's blue, while a single Lucifer's eye sprouted from her forehead, surrounded by 2 smaller ones. One of her hands took hold of Blitzo and squeezed around him. I am going to glaze your flesh in honey, squeeze the jelly from your eyes, and use your pitiful horns as a F-ale shot glass. Gawk. B, wait, no. Luna grabbed one of the fingers of the Sin's lower arms. B whirled around to glare at her and F that wasn't even hot. It was just horrifying. She couldn't feel the power of the Sin like she could Naruto. Maybe it was a matter of control focus. Luna, stop patricide from occurring. Please don't kill my dad. Are you F serious? He's annoying and loud and stupid as a F-rock and bothers me way more than he should, but he's the first one that cared. Luna sighed. She looked at Blitzo, eyes bulging, throat constricted, tongue flailing from his open maw, and then back at the Sin. For all the F faults he has, at the end of the day, he's still my dad. Please, don't kill him. F. Queen Beelzebub growled and slammed Blitzo down before she shrank and pulled Luna into a hug. Man, and getting shot at really helped me sell it. But SHT, that was too effing cute, Tex. Did you get all that? No. That was not just witnessed by one of the hottest hellhounds Luna had ever seen. Ugh, she wanted to die. On camera? No, your butt kind of blocked the shot. The hellhound in question drawled as he walked out of the room that had been exploded before B teleported in. Got the audio though. Very heartfelt. Not that the lazy SHT will care. He'll like it. It's a great prank, SHT. That turned out better than expected. I mean, eating the imp F that tried to kill him that one time and then shot at me would have been fun, too, but he put his foot down on that one. B mused as she walked herself and Luna closer to the large hound. That was just a bit shorter than B. Huh. Sins, go figure. Tex nodded at her and she nodded back as he held the phone up. That was Naruto's phone. Luna's eyes zeroed on it. It had more secret pictures, she was sure of it. A gram account that should stay active in his absence. It had a hint of his violet and coconut scent. She needed it. In what she would later describe as her most shameful moment, Luna lunged for it. She broke out of B's grasp and snatched the device from Vortex before she retreated to her desk. She pressed the orange-cased hellphone to her nose and inhaled. Violet coconut Naruto. She smiled and her tail wagged, and what the actual F was she doing? She froze and slowly turned her now wide eyes to the other occupants of the room. Blitzo was still flat on the ground, small mercies, and the married idiots were gaping at her. Tex's brows were both up and no. That smile looked familiar. She saw it a lot when they rode around checking orphanages. B grabbed onto Tex and squealed, the damned smile still in place. Didn't I tell you, babe? Didn't I? Don't say it. Don't say it. If she doesn't say it, Luna won't lose any cred. She's so effin' cute. Her tail curled around her and her boyfriend's phone cradled in her arms. Luna did the only thing she could think of in this situation. She whined. A bloodied and burnt Naruto froze where he was crouched on the back of another hellborn. This one was a frog-like figure with bulging white eyes and green frill around his neck. A broken banjo rested off to the side, somewhere his arms wound around it in a headlock. Something, somewhere was wrong. He didn't know what it was, but it was wrong, and it involved Luna. His Luna. His BLD boiled and his vibes turned foul. If he could get there, he'd know what the wrong was, and fix it and boop her and hold her and embrace her F. These past 2 weeks without contact sucked. He missed her sweet scent and the FBN vibe she always seemed to have, but he couldn't fix it because Lucifer was a petty, overprotective butt. "I'm so sick of being here." He adjusted his grip and snarled as he jerked his arms away from each other. Cry crunch. The frog like Hellborn went limp and dropped. Finally, it took 30 minutes to get a solid grip on the slippery shitter. The gates to the next cells opened. A right door and a left door, both plain save for the screens in the center. Fun fact, Elysium was built like some kind of a SHT. What did Charlie call them when they were kids? Rouge lights. Whatever, it was designed like a sadistic video game that had randomized chances to encounter different enemies based on the little symbols that would light up on the door once you passed a certain level. In this case, a sword appeared over the center of the one on the left and that was a PP on that right door. Straight up, a hairy PP with a giant scrot. Or it was a mushroom with 2 slime ball at the base. Nope, it's a PP. Naruto would put money down on it. So, going through this door, then? He decided, pushing through the door on the left and sighed in relief as he saw a table of food. Not just any food, it was what the modern mortal man called Asian food. More than that, there was ramen. A literal heavenly chorus sounded. Really? I mean really? Sunglasses lowered as a disappointed stare leveled at the proud other observer. What? He earned that? I am telling Sarah. Please, don't. We can keep it a secret. As he wiped the drool from his lips. He didn't sprint for the bowls of not literal ambrosia, more so he materialized beside them. One bowl was downed entirely before he could realize what he did, as was a second, and a third, and a fourth. It was on the 19th bowl that Naruto realized he should probably not eat the fine china that his meal was served in. At least the ramen was good. Ah, well. Naruto grinned as he hovered over the bounty before him. Waste not, want. He jumped back and landed in a crouch, hackles raised and fangs bared in a snarl. A giant F-off sword had sliced through the table and obliterated the food. The remaining ramen dishes shattered and spilt across the floor. His jaw dropped and he slumped to his knees. And no. The floor was covered in the remains of so many delicious uneaten dishes, a waste to any proud glutton. No one would ever get a chance to eat the lo mein, ramen, Thai, ramen, curry, ramen, dim sum, ramen, dumplings, ramen, fried rice, ramen, tempura, ramen, kimchi, ramen, sushi, and most importantly the ramen. Your reprieve is over, Duke of Gluttony. Now, you face a true warrior. No, Naruto turned to the speaker, eyes blazing white-hot as he did. Now I face dinner. The owner of the giant sword was a massive oni with bandages around his mouth and upper neck. Bands of white and brown spots like a cow, like the cow that was in the beef ramen. The poor, spilled, uneaten beef ramen covered his forearms and legs. A single band of dark cloth was wound around his head. The oni snorted and hefted his sword onto his shoulders. We'll see about that. Hellborn came in many shapes and forms, this was known, and their reproductive cycles depending on the species were low, hence the need for sinners. This was all known. There were some, however, that came from before hell was even a concept, before it was a separate reality from Ihu's world of man. These Hellborn were the creatures known as demons, before sinners took claim to the word. Now, they are simply legends. Among their number are those who hold no allegiance to Lucifer and his ilk, but do not interfere. In return, they are granted amnesty and property. Some share the latter with the sins through arrangements of convenience or long-held alliances, but there were few times a sin felt encroached on. To date, not one sin has won any challenge for the prospective expansion of their territory against these neutral parties. Lobo and his pack, the nomadic coin Shide, are one such entity. They own the lands outside of the rings of hell, as both sentries as they are also considered enemies of heaven, despite a neutral stance on the war and deterrence against any souls that would try to invade. They are commonly found crossing the unforgiving wastes of wrath, the hiking snow-blown mountains of sloth, and traversing through the ferociously gorging foliage of gluttony. For the most part, they keep their distance, but if pressed, they will fall upon unfortunate souls like a force of nature. There is no knowledge of how the pack keeps its numbers or expands, but theories are abundant. Cerberus, the guardian hound of Hades and the underworld, is another that is considered neutral. but more aligned with the Hellborn than the last. Hethy claimed the corridors of hell as his domain. The abandoned passageways that would lead mortals or gods to the realm of the dead were theirs to maintain and patrol. The once strong union of Cerberus and Beelzebub was eagerly anticipated by many, including Lucifer and Lilith, and none were more disappointed the relationship dissolved than the king and queen. Though their original presence and purpose among the royal family was forgotten by the ever-expanding masses of hell, hellhounds new and old revere the ancient Cerberus on the same divine pedestal as many imps would hold Satan. There are more, many more, entities that rule the unknown spaces past the 7 rings of hell. Forgotten gods, slumbering monsters, and creatures once considered men, but there is not enough time in existence to go through them all. One last, the focus shall fall on, a result of union between magic, man and beast. Considered a key part of old stories, a pinnacle of an adversary that challenged both the mind and body of his foe, we come to the champion of Elysium. Small, golden eyes were glued to the screen before him as they had been for the past 15 minutes, 5 of which were filled by an unheard conversation between the two. They watched the battle between the demon and a duke without faltering interest. One eye would blink shut and open fully before the other would dare do the same, lest one instant be lost. A steady breath was the only hint of sound outside of the clash captured by the will of wrath. The Oni's massive sword was halted by the duke's bare palms and pierced by the claws on the digits. The latter was sliced into, and the former's cracks healed upon contact with the spilt BLD. The duke paid no mind to his injuries for what was a cut when compared to the burns from the most sadistic of the Fury's blazing WHP. What was pierced flesh compared to the organ-crushing kicks from a creature that swam down to hell from the Mississippi River, and hauled himself from the ground to drive his hind paws into the Oni's bandaged face. The blade and its owner slid back, and the duke landed on his sliced palms with a snarl, quick to swing around so as to not leave his back exposed. Golden eyes watched near unmoving, but his fingers tightened around the pommel of the weapon that rested beneath them, eager to swing its might into the flesh of his challengers. The Oni followed with another rushed overhead swing that crashed into the ground and split the stone beneath their feet. Avoided, but obviously planned for, as the Oni used his now stable weapon as a lure to force a counter. The duke fell for it, a fish out of water, clearly more comfortable with some ability that was taken from him, as was often the case with most pit participants. Only the most prideful or mindless Rathians dove to the pit, and was therefore unprepared for the Oni to abandon his weapon and catch the duke mid-lunge. The duke's spine was driven into the hilt of the BSTRD sword, which snapped the blade from its stable stone impalement before he was tossed over the Oni's shoulder in a suplex-like maneuver. The duke crashed into one of the cobwebbed chandeliers that swung overhead and brought it down with him to the ground. He landed in a heap, his breathing shallow, while the Oni went to retrieve his prized weapon and examined the damage. Despite it being down a quarter of its length, the Oni dragged it over to the duke's prone body. A smile spread across the face of the fallen prince. He'd seen the duke's left arm shift while the Oni's back was turned. It was only when the Oni rose and dropped his blade in an effort to bisect the duke did the fox fiend suddenly revive. The obsidian chain that once held the ancient chandelier above the two fighters was spread between the duke's claws and stopped the blade's edge. 2 digitigrade feet dug into the Oni's exposed stomach and launched him away, where he crashed through 2 pillars. Finally, the champion of Elysium felt his muscles flex and relax in anticipation. He so loved challengers that improvised and used their surroundings to their advantage. His physical excitement was to be witnessed by all if any were there to see his massive magnificence in its full glory as the duke rose to his feet with the chain still in hand. The duke's chest, arms and shoulders tensed as he pulled the heavy and dented chandelier up and began to spin it like a flail. The Oni had only gotten back to his feet as the improvised chain weapon crashed into his head and was knocked away from his weapon. The rusted and old chandelier shattered, leaving only a large, thick base the ornament hung from and chain for the duke to work with. The duke's eyes shone bright white as he stalked toward the rising Oni, chain spinning fast at his side once more, before he then swung his weapon again. The Oni fell after the impact, clutching his DMNT arm that now hung at a low angle. Yes, one of the champion's hands fell from where it clutched the pommel of his prized weapon to slide himself. His mouth parted by hotter and hotter breath as he watched the duke bring his flail down over and over onto the Oni's body. as BLD splatter darkened the stone floor and the Duke's fur. Fully released his weapon's pommel to reach over and press a button on a nearby remote. The Oni was withdrawn, his sword to be recovered by a servant at a later date, and the Duke was given reprieve to advance. The champion pressed another button. An option between a chalice, a fish, and a gold coin appeared. Satisfied as the announcer declared the Duke's victory, the champion let his eyes drift shut and focused on the strokes of his tool. The vicious battle he witnessed and the efforts put in by both participants got his BLD hot. He stopped stroking himself and panted for a moment before another button was pressed. Bring the Oni in. A minute passed and the champion sat, eyes glued to the screen across from his throne. The doors to his chambers opened behind him, and there was a clatter and wheeze as the Oni was brought in, his weapon thrown aside by one of the servants. The champion held his head high and kept his gaze on the Duke, watched as he entered a rest zone and all but collapsed on the bale of hay he could use to sleep in. A number scrawled across the screen as the Oni was dragged to the champion's feet. 9 days without sleep. Impressive. The champion hummed and held a hand up. Leave us. The servants, BSTRD descendants of his who took after him, walked out without a word. The doors closed with an echoed slam. The champion looked down at the Oni, labored breaths followed by coughs of BLD that marred his floor. His eyes narrowed. Rise, Zabuza. Can't breathe but. That is not my problem. Golden eyes shone. Rise. Effer. His good arm shook as it was forced to lift his body and stood. One beady eye of the Oni glared at him, the other swollen and closed, and labored breaths left his cracked if not broken jaw while BLD dripped from every orifice on his face. There standing. The champion adjusted his chitin and unleashed his length to be beheld. The Oni looked down at it, then back at him. His good eye widened. The champion propped his chin on a hand. Kneel. FK can't this. He turned his head. He knew better than to cough on the champion, and then looked back. Can't this wait until I heal? I said, kneel. The champion's lip curled. Or would you rather I bring him in? SHT. The Oni knelt, his usable hand braced on the champion's massive thigh to steady him during the descent, though the arm quaked. Through strained grunts and labored breaths, his mouth widened. Without prompting, the Oni descended and engulfed the swollen head in a single effort. A well-trained thing, this Oni. The champion closed one eye as BLD and spittle dripped down his PP. In a second, his draped hand grabbed the Oni's head and pushed. The gurgled and gagged protest was ignored, as were the pitiful nails that dug into his thigh. The champion of Elysium snorted steam as he forced the once proud assassin to fillet. Yes, good, the Duke you faced. I know you have history. A strained grunt, a protest, it didn't matter. The champion of Elysium brought the assassin down further, his length visible in the weaker demon's throat. He is strong, he will be a worthy foe, a better prize. Pray that he doesn't disappoint me in battle, for he may just be the one to replace you. Now swallow. After all, no one denied the cretin bull. It was 3 weeks into a punishment, and Lucifer always did things to upset the system. A solid fortnight was too expected, and he had too much on his plate for weekly updates. The fatalistic fantastic RBB Duck Coalition wouldn't create itself, after all. Still, it was a punishment he issued, and there was like a week left, so he should check in to make sure B's brother actually wasn't a rotting corpse. He didn't feel like dealing with a mourning Queen Bee. Last time he had to deal with that. Actually, come to think of it, he's pretty sure Lilith took care of that. He definitely had to make sure the brat was alive. A jaunty trip down to Wrath with a heads-up text to Lucia, who was overseeing the punishment since Satan was a good-for-nothing second in command via Seal of Sin portal, and he found a whole television operation in the works. Uncle Lucy. Lucifer blinked and stumbled back as a small, NDE, humanoid red creature slammed into his leg. She grinned up at him and a serpentine tongue flicked up. Did ya come to watch the Elysium fights with us? Did ya? Did ya? Of course. The king of hell chuckled and patted the child's head before he glared around at any onlooker. His smile became strained as he met the eyes of one Waldo-looking imp. Who the F is this child and why is she in here? Well, I'll be blessed. She actually found you first. A thump had Lucifer look up to find Satan's fifth, Sixth, wife in all her thick, naked glory. Her wings folded behind her and she crossed her arms. Satina, get off of the king of hell. Ah, all right. The little red nudist in the making ran over to her mother. Was she even NDE? There wasn't a sign of genitalia. Not that Lucifer looked for that sort of thing on the average underaged hellborn, but it was noticeable that she didn't have any. Almost like she was made to be a cartoon character or something. Weird. She bounced on her clawed feet and smiled wide. Hey, if Uncle Lucy is here, can Daddy come watch the fights with us? Absolutely not. Lucia deadpan. She bent down and hissed something in ancient serpentine. He should get on fixing that translator quackster duck that made the young hellborn slump her shoulders and pout. The elder Drake arched one of the ridges above her eyes. Don't you make that face at me, young lady. Do you remember our agreement? Stay in the corner, stay quiet, and don't get in the way. The little mongrel repeated with a tired sigh. Preach, kid. That's right. You have 1 more hour until showtime, and then you can watch the fights with Mommy and Uncle Lucy, if he deems it worth his time. Okay? Satina nodded morosely, but Lucia smiled and flicked her tongue out to wash over the now giggling child's face. Good. Now, back to your corner. Okay, Mommy. Later, Uncle Lucy. The girl ran off to a corner in the room that had quite a lot of colorful and soft things that did not look cheaply made, which meant they weren't from hell. His eyes narrowed as he wondered who the child's actual parent was. Lucia cleared her throat and he looked back at her. Oh, that was a pair of mama dragon eyes. Lilith had those back when Charlie was still his little pry. Don't kid yourself, Lucifer. She'll always be your little princess. Anyway, the point is he needed to not make her think he had anything ill in mind against the kid. Angelic power he might have, but that's been stress-tested against the might of an angry mother. Poor Uriel never walked the same after that conversation with Mary. It was hilarious, but still. What a cute little scamp she is. Lucifer forced a chuckle as he brushed his boot off. Cute, yes. Clean? Up for debate, debate over. The answer is F no. Ugh. How was every child aside from his Charlie a little germ goblin? He settled his cane down and looked up at Lucia. You must be so proud. Sir, don't patronize me. She's a menace. Yeesh, that screamed her position as a practitioner of tough love. Lucifer wasn't a fan of the practice, but he was just a smidge biased. Lucia turned and began to walk to the front of the room, and he followed. He was happily married, just temporarily separated. But DMN, that was a cake. Satan and apparently Mammon were indeed lucky bastards to have sampled it. So, what's with the rushed production? Lucifer looked around as several imps and lesser hellborns scrambled and bickered. I thought the Elysium fights lasted until the night of the harvest moon. That's still a week out. 6 days, actually. Lucia corrected him as she grabbed a giant notepad and flipped through it. The reason for our haste is due to your donated soul. What? Is he burning out? He's surprised the brat lasted so long. Granted, he thought the initial entry levels of the pit would have done him in, but his advancement. No, it's worse. He's thriving. I'm sorry, what? Lucifer's smile tightened. Lucia looked down at him and put a hand on her cock tip. He's tearing through Elysium at record speed. If he keeps his pace, the show will be over before the Harvest Moon Festival, and at that point, we'd have wild and rowdy Rathians without an annual outlet to direct their bloodlust, she said. Lucifer grimaced. Yeah, a bunch of hopped-up wrath born without anything to channel it into, be it screaming for proxy fighters or picking bar fights over highlight reels, would put Payman's chosen heir at risk. And that would risk Lucifer's relationship with the Ars Gotia King. That was not a fight he wanted to have again. It was exhausting. With heaven so unreasonably bloodthirsty lately, it wasn't a fight he could afford either. All right then, trank him. Hit him with a dart. Knock him out with a brick. I don't care how it's done, just slow him down. He's already survived 9 days without sleep, and we've drugged him twice with the supplied food and rest arenas, but that only put him out for a few hours apiece. And before you suggest he didn't ingest enough, the amount of food he has eaten would easily be enough to put Beelzebub into her digest mood for a week. How do I? She confirmed it herself. Lucia rubbed her face. She's ecstatic he's eating so much, though. Something about a healthy appetite. I stopped listening when I heard someone whimper on the other end. Typical F foodie, Lucifer snorted. He pursed his lips and looked up in thought. Oh, did you lace the R? Yes, Lucia deadpanned. We drugged the stupid noodles. Enough to kill every living horse on Earth 5 times over. Seriously? What did you use? Rohypnol. Roofies, HM, the narcolepsy. He clapped his forehead and dragged a hand down. Ugh, so stupid. He's probably unaffected because of his condition. Narcoleptic? Him? Sir, did you miss the part where I said he was awake, slaughtering his way through Elysium for 9 days straight? No, it's just what we've taken to call his condition for Satan and Mammon's benefit. Lucifer shook his head. He'll be fine. The drags must be out of his system at this point. Is there anything else? Well, he does have a price on his head. And how is that panning out? Every assassin or would-be hitman that has tried to get near him has either fallen to the Elysium system or to his own hands. That tracks. Lucifer pursed his lips. Keep an eye on it for now. If anyone tries anything that goes anywhere. We've already traced a bet in Duke Elzebub's favor to Marquis Andreolphus of the Ars Gotia. Lucia noted. Ah, the brother to the publicly humiliated wife of Prince Stolas. How convenient for him to place a bet such as that right as a hit was put out on the Foxfiend. All right, that's good news. We know who to blame if the little SHT does die and B finds out about the hit before we can break the news to her. That wouldn't be the issue. Oh? He's almost made it to the semifinals, Lord Lucifer. And? Lucifer blinked. Lucia sighed as she rubbed her temples with one hand. Sir, permission to speak candidly. You haven't been? The champion wants to fight him. Lucifer's eyes widened, and he choked on his spit. I beg your pardon. The champion of Elysium wishes to fight the Duke of Gluttony. Well, tell him no. No, obviously. In fact, tell him exactly these words. Ahem, F no. Lucifer deadpanned. He didn't care how old or supposedly powerful the champion was. He was in Lucifer's employ as an agent of hell. That meant Lucifer called the shots. Not the champion. I tried. Lucia shook her head. He's already interfered in 2 of his fights. Once was to save the Oni. Is he still down there? I thought he died years ago. Lucifer rubbed his chin. The Oni was a relatively powerful assassin that allied with the Sins early in their reign. Back then, Lilith and Lucifer had used him more than once to quell any possible uprising that may have been in the works. The efforts were surprisingly effective, given the rulers that were still in place. Since their disappearance following a disgraceful loss to the champion almost 15 years ago, Lucifer thought him dead. No, he's alive, thanks to the champion's interference, Lucia said. She looked at a nearby pair of imps. Donnelly, Daniels, bring up yesterday's in memoriam for the Oni. Yes, ma'am. Lucifer watched the screen and watched Naru Elzebub fight against a trained assassin like it was child's play. He blinked at the strength behind some of the blows early on. One camera was overloaded, and then whistled when the young Foxfiend was thrown into the air. The following chain-assisted beatdown was gruesome, but well-earned and rather appealing. The end to the fight via emergency recovery portal. Not so much. Well, the one thing he's got on the BSTRD is age. Ugh, and that reminded him. B was throwing a Millennium celebration for the little SHT's next birthday. It was mandated he attend such an event, and he was a tad pissed that this young upstart beat Charlie to her first. 7 times, if Belfeger's carbon dating of the little F-er's egg was right. Yes, Lucia crossed her arms. The second time the champion interfered was here. Bring up this morning's clip for in memoriam. He looked at another screen that was brought up. The same chain used to fend off the Oni was now wound around his neck as he was physically choked by a large bear-like demon. Volos looked good for a snarky Rusky-sounding Sonove batch, and clearly he hadn't skipped days at the gym. He was an up-and-coming Hava from the far reaches of sloth that opted to go to Elysium almost a year ago. He'd not made it very far, only to 10th place, but now he was in it to win it. He was choking the Foxfiend, and then the lights in the arena went out. When they came back on, Volo's arm was sliced off, and the Foxfiend was coughing for air. The fight ended with Naru Elzebub suffocating Volos with his chain and then stalking off through another door. He handicapped one of the Duke's opponents. Lucia gestured at the screen. That was this morning, And if the games start to look fixed, for any participant to make it through, we could have a ring-wide riot on our hands. How is that any different from how Wrath usually operates? I'm talking about an organized riot, sir. Not to mention how Beelzebub would react and retaliate. Do you think it's a play for power? Lucifer asked, a frown now on his face. He didn't like it when his subjects acted out of character. Unpredictability could lead to problems with heaven. Problems with heaven could lead to a hurt Charlie. As he'd sworn on her day of BRTH, when he first held her in his arms, he would never let anything hurt Charlie if he could help it. It's clear that he wants to fight the Duke of Gluttony. Lucia folded her arms. Perhaps we should make a show out of it. Oh? A 4-way semi-final, live. The day before Prince Stolas' celebration and the Harvest Moon Festival. If we get some support from Mammon, we could broadcast it across the rings. Rathians love it when they can brag about SHT like that, right? Lucifer asked. He was the pride sin, not wrath. He didn't know what Rathians liked. Aside from violence and, oh yeah, more violence. More or less, sire. Then let's do it. Get word to the champion that he'll get his fight on the Harvest Moon Festival before Stolas' little magic show takes place or after it. We'll check in with the bird boy. Lucifer stopped and cupped his chin. Oh, SHT, we should make sure he's there sooner rather than later. Set him up nearby actually, bring the whole family. Let's let his beach wife know we're onto her little scheme. I'll arrange for a stay of sanctuary for them. Keep them with you. What? You're a wife of Satan, you've got nice digs, and you've got a kid of your own. They can be friends, everyone needs more friends. Lucifer shrugged and then pursed his lips. I feel like I just stole someone's thing, man. Very well, I'll house the prince and his family. Oh, she sounded so thrilled. Lucifer should get cameras in her place and watch. Wait, no, there was a literal child on site. That would not end well for him. What do you want us to do for the semi-finalists? Announce them tomorrow and smuggle them out of Elysium. Start with the brat. Keep him isolated and entertained. Ramen should work. Yes, sire. Luna perked her ear up and lowered Naruto's phone as she heard a jostle of keys at the door to her and Blitzo's apartment. It had been a week since B's prank, the recording of which, unfortunately, was sent out before she got her hands on the phone, and the explanation for it was because Naruto's birthday came a month after the Harvest Moon Festival. She had been thinking about things to get him and got a little sidetracked when she realized there were things she could do for him instead of just buying him something he might not like. He wasn't supposed to be back until tomorrow. Luna scowled as she pulled her claws from between her legs. She had just gotten started on another fun fantasy, too. She looked at the selfie on the screen of her boyfriend's phone fresh from a post-workout shower with a towel resting on his head. His wonderfully wide tongue stuck out in a small blep as he gave the camera a wink. Doofus her boyfriend was, but he was a cute and sexy doofus, and then locked it. She took another inhale of his scent from the phone and whined. 1 week. Just one more week. She nosed the phone one last time in a pseudo-boop, which so wasn't the same, and then set it beside hers on her nightstand. Looney, pack your SHT. We've got an all-expense-paid company trip that leaves tomorrow, Blitzo shouted as he burst into their apartment. Company trip? Luna rolled her eyes as she pulled one of her boyfriend's shirts on the one good thing that came from him being whisked away by B as soon as they sent word to her. She could rifle through his stuff. The shirts he hadn't ripped off of her made for great sleepwear and had residual hints of his scent. Shame she couldn't wear them in public. Most of her issues would be solved, and then a skirt. She cracked the door to her room and poked her head out to find her adoptive father running around the apartment. Can I know? You have to go, he said as he scurried out from under the fridge, a series of thongs in one hand. She closed her eyes and tried to eradicate the image that was brought up from her memory. It's forced family fun. Son of a batch, Luna growled. She pulled the door open. That's a one-day agreement. Looney, if you come with us, I'll make sure not to bother you with it for the next few months, Blitzo said to her as he tossed some cowboy-themed boots into a suitcase. Well, with a deal like that, how could she say no? All right, where are we going? He looked at her and Luna crossed her arms. I want to know what to pack, dipshit. Oh, dress fancy, sweetie. We're shacking up with Mox and Mills in Millie's folks' place in Wrath. We're going to Wrath. Her ears perked and her tail swished. Naruto was in Wrath. She could go to Wrath and find Naruto in Wrath and get a boop. Or a embrace. An embrace. An embrace. And maybe some heavy petting or more heavy petting and sec. Yes, this is a good plan. Yep, Stolas got called over by the big PP in charge for some star-gazing SHT he has to do and offered to cover us financially to go along since, you know, his book is our, moneymaker. Blitzo rolled his hand awkwardly. He waved his hand at her. Now go pack. We've got to get the van and the book before we meet up with Millie and her lesser half. Luna didn't need to be told twice. She disappeared back into her room and grabbed the ugly butt rucksack Naruto had kept his stuff in back at Happy Hotel. It didn't smell as strongly of him as his shirts did, but it smelled close enough. Her clothes were packed in record time. She needed a way to kill time while she waited for Blitzo to finish. An idea struck, a small bit of payback for the approval of his sister's prank that severely embarrassed her. She hopped over her bed to grab her phone and then her boyfriend's. She took a pic of herself in her mirror to first post online on her account. A bunch of thirst posts would be made later that she'd ignore, while others commented on the shirt as expected and who the original owner was. Then she posted a slightly different picture to Naruto's account, with help from a timed photo. To his followers, Rasengan was still active and just going on a nostalgia trip. Various old pictures she or B had scrounged up were posted on his account. The fact that he posted a picture of Luna perched alluringly on her bed wearing his Beware of Sarcasm shirt, which was what he wore in his last nostalgia post and what she wore in her own personal photo that hung off of her shoulder, and a skirt that wasn't visible in the pose she was in, was sure to stir some SHT. His phone started to blow up and she sat back and enjoyed the rolling comments. Until she got to one in particular. Salamea Whooper guys. How TF is he posting when he's dominating the Elysium fights for the past 3 weeks? I think this account's been hacked. What? So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 8. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author BonesBoy15 on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video. Till then, goodbye.